Check, check. Big red, big red, big red. New Tucker Carlson video. Big red, big red, big red. Big red. Spanish. Big red, big red, big red. Let's go. Let's update the name of the stream. Okay. Hey, William. All right, this is actually nuts. I'm going to go get a hat real quick. I don't like how my hair looks. I am actually going to go get a hat. Had some song descend. A Slav in the mix. Ooh, Peter Thiel Dark Antichrist. Whoa. Why are we yelling at my fucking headphones? Bitches. Dunbar. Damn. Second on the Twitch. Fourth in the chat. Slipping, brother. Slipping. Sad to see. Such a monumental fall from grace. All right, I'm gonna go get a hat because this hair looks like shit. I'll be right back.
The Antichrist.
Up next, the Antichrist. Let me let you set this one up. I mean, I'll give you the bare bones. Let's put this up on the screen from the Washington Post. So, Peter Thiel, we all know and love. He gave this series of 4 private lectures, like 2 hours each. You had to agree that they were off the record and not to record, blah, blah, blah. Well, they got leaked. The audio got leaked to the Washington Post, so they wrote up this piece. They say, inside billionaire Peter Thiel's private lectures, warnings of the Antichrist and U.S. destruction. Tech billionaire, they write, Peter Thiel recently warned that Swedish activist Greta Thunberg and critics of technology, or AI, are, quote, legionnaires of the Antichrist. In private lectures on Christianity that connected government oversight of Silicon Valley to an apocalyptic future. In the 4 roughly 2-hour lectures, which began last month, Thiel laid out his religious views to a sold-out audience told to keep the contents off the record, according to an event listing. He argued those who propose limits on technology development not only hinder business, but also threaten to usher in the destruction of the U.S. in an era of global totalitarian rule, according to the recordings. Now, for a guy who, helped found Palantir and is invested in this whole world, very convenient that he sees any sort of infringements on technological development as helping to usher in the Antichrist.
Yeah. Peter Thiel, a whole bitch. And that's not like a well-researched opinion. I just don't like his fucking vibe. I don't like a millionaire that's fucking weird looking. How you a millionaire and how you weird looking, dude? You know what I mean? It's like when you see rich fat people, you're like, oh, you're a cunt. Peter Thiel. Or he's a billionaire, right? Why does he look weird as shit? All of them do, dude. All of them look weird as fuck. They all get the fake hair. I don't trust a man with fake hair. I don't trust a motherfucker with fake hair. Nah, men are supposed to get old and die. They're supposed to get old and die and look like shit. Yeah, dude, he's got girl eyes. Fuck these pussies, dude.
Tech billionaire audio. Let me let you set this one up. Let's put this up on the screen from the Washington Post. So, Peter Thiel, we all know and love. He gave this series of 4 private lectures, like 2 hours each. You had to agreed that they were off the record and not to record, blah, blah, blah. Well, they got leaked. The audio got leaked to the Washington Post, so they wrote up this piece. They say inside billionaire Peter Thiel's private lectures, warnings of the Antichrist and U.S. destruction. Tech billionaire, they write, Peter Thiel recently warned that Swedish activist Greta Thunberg and critics of technology, or AI, are, quote, legionnaires of the Antichrist. In private lectures on Christianity that connected government oversight of Silicon Valley to an apocalyptic future. In the 4 roughly 2-hour lectures, which began last month, Thiel laid out his religious views to a sold-out audience told to keep the contents off the record, according to an event listing. He argued those who propose limits on technology development.
That's so funny. You're a fucking billionaire. You don't know about yonder bags, you dumb piece of shit.
Wealthy elite. This too, and not only hinder business, but also threaten to usher in the destruction of the U.S. in an era of global totalitarian rule, according to the recordings. Now, for a guy who, you know, helped found Palantir and is invested in this whole world, very convenient that he sees any sort of infringements on technological development as helping to usher in the Antichrist. And there's also, I mean,
for real, these fucking pussies are full of shit. They're like, oh, I've done all the research and I realized that anything that doesn't make me rule over the whole fucking world is actually bad for society. Go fuck yourself. How about this? How about you take care of your acne scars first, pussy?
there's a lot that's really noteworthy about this too. I mean, the fact that he, like, it's explicitly religious and Christian in a Silicon Valley setting where that hasn't always been the association. I know from listening to some of the other things that he said publicly, you sent me some of the lectures that he'd given or the talks that he'd given previously, that he also likes to connect it to, okay, well, even if you're not religious, like there's a secular concern about the end of the world. You can think about nuclear weapons, you could think about climate crisis, you could think about AI, but he believes that while AI development is dangerous, that the risks of not developing AI are more dangerous and will lead you potentially down the path as legionnaires of the Antichrist to an era of global totalitarian rule. So a very convenient set of beliefs for him to hold.
Right. So Peter Thiel has started over the last year framing this in explicitly biblical Christian theological terms by focusing in on the catechon, which is from 2 Thessalonians. I'll get into that a little bit more. We can put F1 up on the screen. This is the Washington Post article on a sort of leaks from a lecture that Thiel gave in San Francisco, but he has been doing these lectures in multiple different places. And one of the interesting parts of this Post article, there's been a Wired article on some leaks that came out. You're seeing this drip into the media in recent months. He did this long interview with Ross Douthat. We're going to get into that as well. In fact, we actually already covered this too, because as you said at the top of the show, Crystal, anytime someone with the power that Peter Thiel has starts talking like this, you have to pay attention. So he's saying the same thing over and over again. Every time you see a new article or a new interview, he is making the same pitch over and over again. And he's doing it as there's this kind of Christian...
Acne is gross. Both my biological dads taught me how to wash my... I like when the podcast fans are actually funny. So I appreciate you guys. The ones in the big red stream are the real ones. They're the funny ones, dude. Wait. Why would I believe someone who can't even become a trillionaire? Right, exactly. Exactly. Get on your fucking grind set, you fucking loser.
Revival happening in Silicon Valley, like the vibe shift that's happening nationally. There's a real, not even an undercurrent anymore of that.
By the way, there's a new Tucker doc today. Very excited. We've been watching all of them. I love them so much. 9/11. You guys know it's weird. Like, it's been weird for me because like I've been not as into the news and shit, or just like being informed. Being informed has not been enjoyable for a really long time. It used to be enjoyable when I didn't understand the bigger picture, and the more I understand the bigger picture, the less I enjoy being informed. But goddamn, there is something though. There's like an attachment you can have with a lot of that conspiracy shit. It's like I'm real good at conspiracies that I can like be disconnected from. But like whenever you get into it with like real world ramifications, that's when all the stuff gets very sad and very heavy. And that's why like the day-to-day current event stuff is actually harder to pay attention to than like it's harder to be like I'm more engaged on I got my books about Satanism and child sex trafficking and serial killers and shit like that. That's more easy to be engaged on than the like daily news, because the daily news has much more direct impact on my life in a weird way. But yeah.
In Silicon Valley. You see it in people like Nicole Shanahan. You see it in an organization that Thiel is involved with that's bringing in a lot of powerful people in Silicon Valley. And you hear it a lot in the conversation about generative AI, large language models, and that sort of thing. So here's a pretty representative encapsulation of the Thiel argument. We can go ahead and roll F2, and then we'll do some.
Said Tucker's 9/11 doc series is like Netflix could have summed it up in like 2 or 3 episodes. Well, they've only put out 3 episodes so far, so that's a hilarious critique. But no, it's yeah. Does he? I mean, it depends on what you mean by Netflix, because Netflix does a really good job at they do a really good job at summarizing stuff. So it's like you have a big complex topic, we'll give it to you in like this 20, 30, 40-minute hit. They're really good at that. You know what I mean? They're not doing the Ken Burns stuff. What Netflix is bad though is like sorry, I drank a bunch of coffee and I got to figure out my acid reflux. That really is. You know, we joke about me breathing heavy on pods and stuff. It's because I don't do anything about, I have like, it's way more about acid reflux because, well, no, I do got to lose some weight. I do want to lose some weight because when I'm chilling and I'm like laying down in a certain position, I do feel apnea problems. Bad grammar. Rojo Grande Rojo. I don't know. That's what the Google Translate said to do. Yeah, I don't get heartburn with the coffee. My heartburn comes from I'm trying to think. I haven't gotten like true real deal heartburn in a minute because I've been better about that, but I get a lot of, I don't know, it's like acid reflux or something. I get a lot, I don't know. So all the stuff I like gives me that type of acid reflux. So I need to like take a pill to like break it up or something like that. Rio Grande, not Grande Rio for a reason. Yeah, but Slav, you're not listening to me. I typed it into the Google Translate app and this is what it said. So what's it like being fucking dumb, dude? Oh, but the last thing I was going to say about the Tucker docs is it's done in a very quick, concise way. So they definitely take a really big topic. Haha, dumber's not a word, you piece of shit. I win. Andy wins. Wait, I gotta look up the actual episodes on the Tucker, because the thing I really like about these Tucker 9/11 the Tucker 9/11 series is, oh yeah, Alex Jones is on Tucker, by the way. I'm kind of excited to listen to that shit. Let me get a list of these 9/11. Fuck. Oh yeah, so that's the new one. Yeah, the CIA secret mission gone wrong. Oh yeah, so okay, yeah. Yeah, the episode 2 was about like the Jersey Girls and how the 9/11 commission helped cover a bunch of stuff up. Episode 3, was basically them breaking down how they knew where bin Laden was and they could have stopped it. And then I think episode 1 was I forget exactly what episode 1 was about. I think it's that they that they had very clear warning signs. So the thing I like about it, which I feel like you're missing, is that they make it very he puts out very specific he puts out a very specific, like, this is what we're talking about today, and then sticks to just that, which is a much better way as a viewer to experience it. Because, I swear they do that shit on purpose when they take these I feel like in more mainstream established entities. Well, the term mainstream is hard to pin down anymore because fucking, Tucker Carlson, his shit, his 9/11 docs are getting 100,000 views in 3 hours. And then I bet if I go to like CNN, his viewership is crazy compared to these like corporate press entities. So it's funny. You always got to watch yourself using like these old school terms and shit like that. Cause it is like, well, who the fuck is mainstream now? And you're like, oh yeah, Tucker Carlson is way more. The shit we used to call mainstream is definitely not mainstream anymore. I need a new mixer. There's too much bass in my headphones. I have one of those. I will say, shout out Zoom recording devices. They goddamn. Sorry, I saw another video I might want to watch. It's the history of the 32-hour work week. I'm always very curious about that stuff because everyone claims to have whenever you see like free market capitalists versus like socialists and shit like that, everyone always claims to be like, no, it's us that made the weekend and stuff like that. Because it's like that's a big debate for them, and it's a good debate to have. It's an important debate to have because it's like whoever fucking wins the argument on like what the best system is. I'm getting very sidetracked, but yes, the Tucker Carlson stuff is very, very, very well made, and you should listen to it. His podcast is pretty good too. If you just want if you can get into if you can oh yeah, Alex Jones was rocking a Hitler stash. I don't like when they're cringe like that. It really it's like you know what it is? It's like how I was joking with people on here. Because you guys don't really do it anymore. Slav's the biggest culprit of it, but like most of you aren't full-blown retards who I love you, Slav. I'm just poking fun. But no, for real, like most of you, because the joke I was making. Okay, here's the 32-hour work week, a thing I wanted to watch. No, I remember the joke I was making is like I love watching, or it's like I love talking politics. And I love talking conspiracies, but it's hard on here because sometimes, Jesus Christ, sometimes it's hard talking about that stuff on here because so many people, no matter what you talk about, they figure out a way to just go like, "Oh boy, this is my best opportunity to blame the Jews and the blacks," and you're like, "Jesus Christ, guys!" And a lot of you guys were doing it when I first started. And then I was like, yo, can we chill on that? And can we have better conversations and not be as retarded about this and, stuff like that? So it like died down pretty well. But fuck, what was I going to say? God damn it. Oh, yeah. That you were talking about the Alex Jones thing. Yeah. So it's like, because it is already, we are. To steal like a commie term where they talk about because there is some truth to it where they talk about like inequality and they're like, yeah, there's people starting on third base when you're starting on home. And I guess that categorization isn't perfect because it implies like it implies obvious cheating where if you're better in life, if you're doing better in life, it's obviously because you exploited people, and that's that like bullshit commie worldview and Marxist worldview that gets you thinking retarded shit. Not that it's not true, it's just it's that like autistic Marxist worldview that applies that to every single fucking thing. And but anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, but it wouldn't be a big red stream. Wait, don't get it twisted. It's always Dinkelberg. Wait, what? Oh, but anyway, yeah, I'm getting. God damn it, I'm trying my hardest. I'm not good at this, so you have to bear with me. But yeah, it's just because I don't know. I feel mixed because there's certain things. Well, so there's certain opinions that are like the right opinions to have that are truthful, and they're not very popular with. They're not very popular with the types of people that are going to spaz and make your life a living hell because you disagree with them. And those are the opinions that I go, you need to say those ones the loudest because those are, when it's the actual right opinion. Not opinions you formulated off of, short Instagram videos. You guys know who I'm talking to. But like if it's like some shit you believe with your whole fucking chest that is true. God, Slav's gonna get all the wrong things from this. I'm laughing. I'm laughing thinking about that. But you know what I mean. It's like when you're the one person who's right, and it's you have the truth on your side. That's the important shit to say. It's another thing when it's like, oh, this is edgelord humor. They're gonna take out of context, and then it's like that's this kind of shit that's gay because then they always go like, oh, freedom of speech, and you're like, well, it's like when I was talking about it, that one dude who he played the ukulele cover. There's this dude who played a ukulele cover. I had him on the podcast before. I interviewed him a while ago. His name's Toad. He played this ukulele. He would do ukulele covers, and he covered the Kanye one where he goes N-word Hail Hitler, and then his corporate job fired him. And then it's like, this is a freedom of speech thing. You're like, I don't know, dude. I think a lot of people would fire you for doing that because you're fucking yo, Slav. I don't like Slav, you make me laugh because it's like I get way less annoyed with you because you're legit just a fucking dumb guy. I'm sorry, I'm being really mean. You just said shout out Toad from Liberty Lockdown. He's not on that show. You mean to say Tower Gang, dumbass? And he's not even on that one anymore. Was Toad ever even a guest on Liberty Lockdown? Yeah, Slav, this is why when you come into situations talking all that shit like you fucking know anything, it's like slow your roll, dude. Yeah. But yeah, it's moments like this insanely like again Slav, Tower Gang, Liberty Lockdown, Tomato Potato, insanely different shows. Shout out Clint. Yeah, Clint's the man. Shout out Clint. Yes, Slav, please, for the love of God, remember these moments every time you try to talk. And I'm not saying don't talk. You're very funny a lot of times. You just we all love you. You just like it's like you don't think anyone notices how retarded you are. We all love you. We all notice. We're all dumb too. Just stop acting like we don't know you're fucking retarded like all of us, dude. Just slow your roll. All of them. Every single roll, slow them. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't mean to always focus on Slav. It's just I'm Cartman in that one episode of South Park where he's like, I have to connect to these kids. I have to save Slav. I have to make him not hate the Jews so much and just blame everything on blacks. Retard maxing. The improper Spanish grammar is still bothering me. We'll let it, because that's 10 times less fucking retarded than anything you've ever done. As I fire out a typo. Well, If that's an okay typo to have. I have to reach these keys. Nah, man. Unfortunately, I figured out racist guys are just angry fuckers who they just need to open up their heart like the Grinch. So that's why I'll never give up on you. But I will time you out when you're being a fucking... I'm being tolerant of Latinx culture by respecting Spanish grammar. Sue me. Hey, I just saw Cellrat. Thank you for the resubscribe. Subscribe for 9 months. Guys, be like Cellrat. Subscribe. Do it. Do it now. Shit, no audio. My fault, boys. My fault, my sweet, sweet young men.
Of encapsulation of the Teal argument, we can go ahead and roll F2, and then we'll do some more breakdowns.
I think it was Ivan Illich who said that before, in the time before Christ, there were many forerunners to Christ. In the time after Christ, there will be many forerunners of the Antichrist. So in some sense, it's a type. So Nero was a type of the Antichrist, or maybe Napoleon was a type of the Antichrist. And it's sort of it's someone which aspires for world domination, to create, the creation of this sort of one world state. In some ways, Alexander the Great was sort of a pre-Christ prototype of the Antichrist. It's sort of very parallel to Christ. They both die at 33. Alexander conquers the world. Christ saves it. So sort of a compare and contrast. So, but in some sense, the Antichrist as an idea is something that really comes into being in the world after Christ. And so there's there's a lot of things about it that are mysterious. In some ways, the Antichrist copies Christ. The Antichrist pretends to be greater than Christ, hyper-Christian, ultra-Christian, and then maybe only ultimately, deeply, deeply anti-Christian. You can think of it as a system, where maybe communism is a one-world system. So it can be an ideology or a system. And then of course, you can also think of it as Newman did, where it's sort of the final dictator of the one world state, where it's still, you stress it more as a person. You can think of it as a type, a system, a person. How does a sort of a world takeover actually happen? And it's kind of not a deus ex machina, but like a daemonium ex machina. It's like the Antichrist just gives these hypnotic speeches where nobody can remember a word, and then sort of just swindles people's souls out of them.
I don't know. Actually, that's the only thing I kind of picked up on, because, dude, these dudes are so good at... This is how they trick a bunch of fucking retards into following them, because they're really good at saying a bunch of shit, and, it sounds smart, and half of it's bullshit, and the other half of it just makes no fucking sense. And that's kind of what happened. Like, this is how people just blindly... No, if they don't... Because you know what it is? Everyone's convinced that they're fucking retarded. You know what I mean? Like, because they make everything suck ass. And it's like, I'm not sitting here saying I'm a fucking genius, but I'm nowhere near as stupid as like society sort of vaguely makes me feel. Because there's like all this shit, all the areas that have been like pre-established. This is smart guy stuff. It's just like it's all fine. You know what I mean? It's they just determine things are good without really having a conversation about it. Like all the electric shit. They just determine that's right, and fossil fuels are wrong. And I'm not sitting here like cucking up for fossil fuels or nothing. But like at the same time, you know, it's this thing of like, you know, it's the energy and fuel that kind of like doing that shit has provided for us. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, is it affecting the climate? Sure. Now, is it destroying it the way these people fucking claim? Because I've talked about it before. I don't believe that the climate change activists believe a goddamn word they say, because they don't behave in a way that would dictate they actually think the world's going to end. And then like, but even outside of all that, you know, it's this weird thing where it's like, yeah, some shit's going to happen when you figure out a way to turn these, you know, turn this shit into fuel and then provide the world a way to be 1,000,000,000% more efficient and raise the quality of life. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying it never has any negative effects, but they never throw in the like quality of life improvement that has happened because of this shit. And then the same thing with the EV stuff, which I'm not even anti-EV. The thing I've always said is not EV or electric shit in general. The thing I've always said is like the quickness that they want to bring it in is fucking retarded. And then also too, it's like, it's not even like certain that it's fucking better. Like if you look at the electric cars, the amount of fossil fuels and all this other shit that they have to do just to build those fucking batteries. So it gets to a point where like by the time you're done, by the time the battery is getting like chucked and replaced, or you're getting a new car or something like that, have you even, you know, has the battery even become carbon neutral at that point? And then also too, like, don't we need CTE? Don't we need CTE or what's CO2 carbon? They always talk about getting rid of carbon. I go, I thought we needed that. Anyway, I'm no fucking expert on it. But what I'm trying to say is EVs and yeah, I was learning way more about EVs. Their production, the production of them is not good. Like it's not good. And it's like, so you can, you know, and it's not even like, no, like it's not even like, oh my God, this car's so much better than other cars. And you're like, it's good. It's fine. I'm not sure what I'm trying to get at. More chains also just dropped it. Oh, yeah. Love you, Big Red. Love you too, buddy. Morning, you beautiful red bastard. Morning, Cletus. Love you guys. Thanks for hopping in. But yeah, it's like all this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it, because we've just been programmed in such a way that like any non-traditional intelligence is viewed as you're a fucking retard. But if you're one of these fucking guys, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. If you're one of these fucking guys, they've tricked you into thinking like this is the epitome of, you know, it's like, it's not a coincidence that everyone who's held up as like the fucking smartest dude is a dude like Peter Thiel, who helps, you know, take more of your rights away and sets up AI so he can kill you more efficiently with Palantir and shit. It's like all those guys, man. What was I forget the original fucking point I was trying to make. Let me back it up real quick.
System, a person. How does a sort of world takeover actually happen? And it's kind of not a deus ex machina, but like a daemonium ex machina. It's like the Antichrist just gives these hypnotic speeches where nobody can remember a word, and then sort of just swindles people.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Because it's like, you know, it's like, sorry, I'm dealing with a lot of thoughts. If it was a simpler topic, I wouldn't sound as fucking stupid. Because it is, I get the irony of being like these fucking retards, and it's like, what about you, Andy? I get it. No, but it's like, you know, I just get fucking irritated because you're just born into this system of bullshit. You know what I mean? And then, you know, school if you look at the public school system, it's all bullshit. It's not, if you succeed at that, it's not a barometer of who's actually fucking intelligent and who's better than like who and all this other shit. It's not a good barometer for that. It's just a barometer for who's able to follow orders the best. So like public schools just clearly, in my opinion, it's just a very obvious means to turn people into well-behaved citizens. You know, because it's like I remember noticing it where you guys notice that there's so many valedictorian, like some of the biggest valedictorian speeches at colleges are from people who dropped out or never went to college. You would think they wouldn't ask them to do those speeches, or not valedictorian. It was like the honor, like when they give people honorary degrees and they do the speeches at colleges and shit. You would think, let's not, we need to show these kids the epitome of success. Let's show them someone who didn't need us. You know what I mean? So it's like our standard, I guess what I'm trying to say is like our standards for like what makes you smart is like installed into us at an early age via a very, very stupid system. So it's like, a lot of people, and it almost like, I don't know what the whole overarching conspiracy is of it, but it definitely, like the schooling system, the general vibe of what makes you determine who's smart and who's not, and who should be respected and who shouldn't be, is based off of a fucked up system of public schooling and just all that shit in general. And it's like, I don't know if it's this big conspiracy so evil dudes like this can like do whatever they want and people just like still respect them and hold them up as, real well-to-do people. But if it was, this is what it would fucking look like. This is what it would fucking look like. Because like that's what's happening. It's like you get these guys who, because it is also, we get that thing installed in our head. Commencement address, thank you. Gate is for grapists. Like we get this thing installed in our head that like the epitome of success and intelligence is having like a shit ton of money. Even when people are crying, even when people are crying over like, even like the socialist commie types, when they're crying, it's always about like, well, they're not making enough money they deserve because, no one understands money. So they correlate, well, you're a good person and you work hard, so you deserve a lot of money. And you're just like, no, like money. This is the problem with, and this is why I always tell people, it's like, you need to understand economics. You need to understand economics. You need to understand what money means. Money is just a store. Like money represents how productive you were, or how much, money just represents like how productive you were, how much did you provide for other people? Because that's what it represents. You know what I mean? People say like money's fake. No, money's not fake. It's just been devalued. Because no one knows why it has value. But God damn it, Slav, you're such a fucking pussy. Dude, the best way to fucking trigger me. You're such a fuck. I love you to death, dude. Why not criticize Teal like you do Fuentes? I am. I fucking am, dude. I gotta learn to ignore these comments. It's you know what it is? My biggest pet peeve in the world is someone acting like their shit don't stink. And it's like, dude, you consistently say the dumbest shit ever. And then you talk shit to me. You talk shit to me like you're going to fucking get me. I'm literally fucking, I'm 40 minutes in. I've been spending the last, I've been spending the last 20 minutes basically summarizing why Peter Thiel's the biggest pussy ever. And also, who gives a fuck about, stop fucking, god damn it. I'm letting him, I got to ignore, like the dudes who love Fuentes, and like, you watched the fucking video. I acknowledged, I go, Fuentes is clearly acting, Fuentes is clearly acting like he's trying to be more mature and he's trying to have more productive conversations, and I applaud him for that. But he's been a fucking troll edgelord pussy for a really long time. And I don't just forget that. And also, he's a dude who fucking says the N-word on podcasts and says the Holocaust never happened. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's not a guy I'm going to fuck with. So, like, I'm giving him, I said this, you watched the video, I'm giving him major props for wanting to be better. I'm giving him major props for wanting to be better, but he's still got a long way to go to, like, get my trust and say I fuck with the dude. Yeah, so just, you gotta, this is on me. This is on me. I should just ignore the comments, but I get it's hypocrisy, inconsistencies. They drive me fucking nuts. So that's my fault. I get triggered by that shit. Anyway, yeah, whatever. I know. He didn't say it never happened. He said, I'm sorry. You know what I mean. Now you're being autistic. You know what I fucking mean, dumbass. Anyway, Slav, you gotta stop, dude. You're not that, like, you're not good at this. You're not good at this. I love you to death, bro. You're not good at this. So just chill. That's the weirdest part. You can just chill the fuck out and not talk so much shit. Anyway, I can also ignore the comments. I can also ignore the comments. I got to be better at that. That's on me. But anyway, yeah. So, like, the thing with it goes back to the thing I was talking about. He's moving the goalpost. That's so funny. Anyway, I love you, buddy. Just stop everything you're doing. Oh yeah. So the thing, this is what irritates me too, because people have their whole, just because there's money involved, people have their whole, money really fucks up people's worldview on shit. Because most people will be like, oh, that guy's got a shit ton of money. He might be a good fucking guy, or even, what was I saying? The reverse shit. But it's always like, that's the thing. Like, you got to look at how people get their money. How people, fucking Christ. This is also why I got to ignore these comments, because now I'm like, I forget what I was fucking saying. I forget what I was fucking saying. Theory of Money and Credit by Mises. Yeah. Play another brick. What's this? Jimmy Dore last night is sipping on work and productivity. He's divorced the American productivity from workers' wages. Jimmy's a rare lefty, has addressed economics issues. Yeah, I've seen a couple things where Jimmy Dore doesn't quite understand economics, but he's definitely like, he's one of the best lefties there ever is. He's one of Jimmy Dore's a solid lefty, and he does understand. The problem is, though, it's just like being a lefty. Andy, what social upheaval do you have planned for us now? I don't know. What do you mean? Oh, but I was saying about like the thing about money. And it's honestly too, it's why all the so much of our financial system just comes off to me like day trading. He's a retard on economics. He references Marx on capital and not understanding all his policies got us where we are. Okay. I don't know. I know Jimmy Dore's really good on war, so I'm not super familiar with his economic shit. I thought he was better, but if he's referencing Karl Marx, then that's not good. It's been insisted to me Jimmy Dore changed from being a lefty to becoming a libertarian. I just see him as being a justifiably pissed off white man. Well, he's definitely not a libertarian right now. I think a lot of people say stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh, you know, so and so's a libertarian," and then if you talk to them for 5 seconds, you're like, "You don't know what that word means. You don't know what that word means." Jimmy is fine on some shit, and he's a funny guy, but he would support the state going after capitalists. Andy's reach has no end. My reach does have no end. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I don't know. I like Jimmy Dore a lot, but yeah, he is. You know, I think the way he looks at the government, he would have them. He would probably if you take it to its logical conclusion, there's probably certain things he would have the government do that he doesn't perceive as evil, but actually is evil and doing too much and overreach. What's this? The Tiki Torch thing happened a couple hours away from me. No shit. Jimmy Dore, useful idiot, and useful idiots, and Glenn Greenwald are good part of my lefty diet. It's definitely important to know the good faith args from everyone. Yeah, no, it's just that's why you got to be like well-rounded, because if you identify as left wing, you're gonna be completely retarded on economics, and you're not gonna understand why things are and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's you inherently can't, like, if you believe in lefty bullshit, you know, there's a lot of good lefty bullshit with being like anti-war and, you know, being, you know, keeping an eye on the government doing fucked up shit, but just inherently, like, you can't, it's hard to be good on economics and be like left wing to any degree. Anyone calling themselves a libertarian but bring completely colorblind to race is living in fantasy land. I mean, I don't know. Anyone calling themselves a libertarian? I always why does politics make everyone so cunty? And I'm not saying I'm innocent of this, but that's the other part I hate about politics. Anyone calling themselves libertarian but bring complete colorblind to race is living in fantasy land. Yeah, but you know, I could say that about you just being like completely unnuanced to race the way you are. Like, you're literally the equal opposite. So it's almost like, you know, it's somewhere in the middle, like I'm always talking about, where it has way more to do with social economical shit. But yeah, man. You be the equal opposite of what you hate. That's a fun way to live. Did all you guys already own all those torches, or did they have to go out and buy them in mass? Yeah, they probably bought them in mass. No one just has dudes like that. Don't just have torches like that. You tell me every white supremacist over there had a tiki bar? Blen is okay as a person. I get a beer with him, but I would not on everything. I would be nervous to grill him on everything he believes. Here's my thing. I don't get mad at those dudes, because like I also am wrong about a lot of shit. Like, don't get me wrong, I definitely have my moods where I'm like, I'm being smart. You know, we all do that when we get fucking in our shit. Like, it happened to me recently. I was hearing all these like big podcasts that I listened to where like finally they were going in on the Charlie Kirk thing, being like, I don't think it was a lone gunman. And I'm just like, I've been saying this since I saw the fucking video. Like, obviously there wasn't any proof of it, but it was like what I was saying before. Like, and I love him to death, but when like fucking dudes like Martyr Maid. What's Martyr Maid's name? Whatever his name is, I forget. I love his show. I've listened to a bunch of his stuff. I love his show, but like, and I listened to him on the podcast, and he was getting kind of like, you know, he was just shit talking everyone. It was like calling them conspiracy theorists, which was very funny to me, considering the way people were attacking him like that. It's very funny to me. He's going to just go out there and hit people with the fucking lazy conspiracy theorist argument. And then, you know, him and other dudes. Now, I guess I technically didn't hear him say this, but it's like you just hear other dudes now going like, you know, it's starting to be, and I understand there was no technical proof, but like the fact that, here's my thing. I don't think it was obvious it was Israel. I still don't know if it was Israel. But like the fact that you saw that video and you got that first little bit of information and just go like, okay, well, the shot looks this type of way and your official story doesn't make any sense. So it's a reasonable to say this might have been a like op of some sort. And I understand there was no info about that. I understand there was no fucking info about that. But if your response is anything less than, I get why you think that, and there's a really good chance it is, there's just no evidence of it. Say that. It's this fucking thing where it's like you have to be a condescending fucking cunt. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like my thing with Martyr Made, dude, is he was like, I love him to death. I love his fucking show. I think he's the fucking man. And it was just like, he was being kind of condescending. He's being kind of condescending. And now I hear all these fucking podcasts I listen to, and they're like, oh, yeah, it definitely doesn't look like it was just him. It's like all this stuff is weird. It's like, yeah. Like, and I'm happy they're all saying that. I'm not shitting on anyone. It's just like, I don't know. It's you get in these moments where you're like, how was I one of the few people fucking saying this from the jump? It's like, we can be adults and make educated guesses. Everyone has to be so fucking autistic. It's like, you never get the full fucking information. So let's deal with what we have. Let's use life experience and understand how things work and just go like, this is probably what happened. You know, just say that. This is probably what happened. So I got myself in a tizzy when I was hearing people this past week going on about like, this Charlie Kirk stuff doesn't look like on the up and up. And I go, yeah, dude, I knew that the second I saw the video of him getting shot. I don't know. I get a lot of stuff wrong, but that Charlie Kirk thing was like fucking irritating to me. Because it was like there was a lot of great people being like real condescending from the jump. And honestly, I think it was because some of them were worried about getting fucking shot by Israel. I think some of them were getting worried about getting fucked up. Because I get it. If I was that influential and I saw the Charlie Kirk thing, I'd be like, fuck, I'm next. I get that completely. But I'm just saying, it's like, don't let that fuck up your shit. And dickheads like me who have no audience, you talk to people like us and just be like, are you guys fucking serious right now? You really think that? You really think that? Yeah. You know why? Because I've learned about shit. I've learned about how they do this shit. And that looks like the shit they do. You remember when they shot that fucking dude from Boston? You remember when that dude took a ride in Dallas and they shot that dude? Kind of looked like that. Kind of had the same vibes. Oh, did my educated guess end up seeming pretty realistic to you guys now? Shit fucking annoys me. This is why I act like a fucking cunt. Because everyone talks to me like I'm fucking stupid. And I'm not saying I'm a fucking smart ass motherfucker. But like, I'm on point way more than I'm not. And people, I don't, maybe I'm sensitive to it because I've been getting it my whole life. But it's that fucking bullshit, dude. I was talking about it before. It's that fucking bullshit where whenever I'm right about something, people look at me like a dog in glasses driving a car. And they're like, I mean, he's clearly driving the car, but it can't be just him. Anyway. I'm cranky. I'm sorry. Fuck, it's 12 p.m. Coors banquet for big. I could use I love a good Coors banquet. I'm less interested how you identify politically than I am of the policies you want to see implemented change. Yeah, that's the thing. I agree with that one. Seems like team sports. Otherwise, it's simple. In order to play the game, you need two opposing sides. But if you choose not a side, then the game can't play. Well, that's a big thing too. That's a big thing too. And it is a thing of what I'm loving about like the current paradigm. Because a lot of people now, a lot like the current paradigm is it's really breaking up the traditional left right because people are starting to, and I would want this way more because it's why if someone passionately identifies themselves as like a Democrat or Republican, it's one thing to be like because if you give me roll of the dice, I'd probably vote. I mean, after this Israel shit, I don't know at this point, but I would roll of the dice like last election. I would probably just vote Republican. Now I'm not sure, but like it's one thing of what you vote for, then it's another thing of what you like are. And if you just like identify as a Republican or just identify as a Democrat, it means your beliefs are based off what a vague group of elites determine they are. Because it's like, why do the Democrats believe what they believe? You know, because it's always just been this has always just been like the vibe. That's always just been the vibe. It's like, yeah, we do this kind of stuff. And the Republicans, that's always like, well, this has always just been kind of the vibe. Why? Because it is. You know what I mean? It's like none of their, there's a reason most of their beliefs are the opposite or a drastic version of the other. You know what I'm saying? It's not based on anything. That's why I always like the libertarian shit, because it's actually, if you look into the libertarian stuff, they go, this is how we understand what rights are, and this is how we understand property rights, and our beliefs stem from that. But then the good thing about libertarianism, it doesn't like claim to know anything. It just claims to know what rights are properly. And then if you mix that up with that's why I always think like libertarian, like the best thing for our society would probably be a libertarian understanding of the law and a vague Christian, just a vague belief in Christianity. That would probably make the most productive society in the modern American context. Libertarianism is morally egalitarian. What does that word mean specifically? I'm not going to pretend like I know what that is off the jump, but I've heard that before, and I'm pretty sure I know what that. It's egalitarian. Just me. I'm not going to pretend to know what that means off the jump. Egalitarian, relating to or believing in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. Yeah, I agree with that. But even if it's a fact that certain demographics commit more crimes, libertarianism provides the decentralized means of protecting private property in such a manner that everyone benefits. Yeah, and that's why a lot of the times when like the racist talk starts happening, it just reveals to me that it's like, all right, even if you're right, you're still like an evil cunt. You're still like an evil cunt, because it's like you don't lose rights. Like let's just go on board with like the racial identitarian shit or whatever it would be called, because it's like, okay, so how do I phrase this so it can't get clipped up improperly? But even if you do, you look at it, you're like, this race is the best, and these are the smartest ones, and these are all the dumb ones. Well, just because you're fucking dumb doesn't mean you lose rights. And it doesn't mean you can just be abused. It's not like, oh, they're dumb, they can be slaves now or whatever. It's like the same thing if you look at your pets. It's like, yeah, you own your pets, but you can't just do whatever you fucking want to them. You know what I mean? If you start beating your dog, it's like, well, your dog's, it's still, and everyone's still going to look at you justifiably like you're a fucking piece of shit. So it's like, even that's the other part that fucking annoys me. And it's very revealing and obvious that the people who get obsessed with all that racial shit, you're just grumpy cunts. And I say this while I'm yelling. But no, it's like, you're just grumpy cunts, because if you actually believed what you believed, you would be substantially more compassionate to those other groups. And you're not, so you're fucking liars. You just want to be mad. You just want to be mad, and you want to hurt people. That's all you want to fucking do. So it's like, that's why I don't have time with it. And then when you really, like I was saying before, when you break it down, a lot of that stuff's just kind of like bullshit and a waste of time. And it's even akin to like the shit where, if you look at like the fucking Marxist breakdown of how society is, even if that is true, which it's like not, broadly speaking, like I get where they're coming from, but it's like, it's a very unnuanced way to look at society and groups and stuff like that. it's like, dude, even if, because people get tricked into thinking like there's no way of bettering yourself. You just have to have the government help you. Even if there is some truth to that, you're still telling me like even the cliched shit, fucking pulling your pants up, pull your boots up, but whatever, by the straps or whatever the fuck, that stuff is still better for you. Like your life might not be good, but it will be better than it was if you do that kind of shit. It's just, that's why it's like these conversations are so much more important than any fucking policy. Because it's like, as long as you have the right information, if you have the right information and there's no one getting in your fucking way, there's no way you can't lose, dude. Fact that certain demographics commit more crimes, libertarianism provides the decentralized means of protecting private property in such a manner that everyone benefits. Yeah. I've been hanging doors for a few hours. Now it's time to drink and Big Red. Hell yeah, dude. I'm still ripping the bong. I don't know if 9 a.m. bongs is good, dude. What's the standard door frame size in the UK? You talking door frames? That rules. 6'6". But I'm fixing up. Oh, Yema, what's up, brother? I'm fixing up a crack den that was full of migrants. No hate, it really was. It had like 20 people live here. Hell yeah, dude. Mumba berries. I remember. Doors. Doctors don't need college. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Was that a response to what I was saying? Doctors don't need college? I was definitely not saying that. We're talking about migrants. Big migrant talk over here. Andy Pride Worldwide. Oh, you guys are talking heavy migrant over here. I'm a lefty retard, but MTG and Tim Dillon show made her my favorite congressperson. Advocating for constituents' grievances when your party has power is something I haven't seen in my adult life. Yeah. I also, too, like, I've said this before. I'm also, at my core, like a lefty pussy. Because that's how I grew up, and that's like the shit I care about, and that's the shit. I just don't. I grew up and I realized lefties don't have the right solutions, but I have the same sympathy for almost all their. I mean, I don't believe in I think abortion is wrong, and you guys know I'm not on board with all the trans shit. So it's not up and down the docket, but generally I'm on board with, pussy lefty shit. I just don't agree with. I don't agree with their solutions. But yeah, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how, like, Marjorie Taylor Greene deserves a lot of credit for what she's doing, but at the same time, it is kind of funny how low the bar is. You know what I mean? Like, that's why Trump got elected. Trump was the only guy being like, hey, you know how, like, no one's listening to you guys? I will. I'll acknowledge that things suck ass. And everyone was like, wait, really? You do that? He's like, yeah, why not? And then he didn't do any of that shit, but still. Sorry, I'm loading up videos. I got 2 videos I want to watch. I like cooking outside. I don't have a grill, but we use fire pits quite a bit. I like cooking outside too. I really like cooking outside. All the shit I like to cook creates a lot of smoke and just makes fuck. I gotta stop going from never working out to lifting heavy weights with my wife. Cause my fucking shoulder right here really hurts. Yeah, Ma, how you doing, brother? If I can have a noon brew, he can have a 9 a.m. toke. Well, I didn't know you're having a noon brew, dude. Are you working? I don't know, guys. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we talked about it on the podcast. Day drinking is a fucking delight. But there's, it's how often are you doing it? And if you're daily 9 a.m. token, I don't know, brother. Oh, man. Shit. Yo, let me get some more coffee real quick. Hell yeah. All right. I saw them post this video. I was very curious about this one. I don't have shit to do today, so I'm gonna have a few afternoon skis. Oh, okay. I support that. When I'm feeling like a change, switch to pasta for rice and the sauce for curry. Oh, you're talking about curry. Not a big curry guy. Not a huge fan of curry. Indian food in general. Don't like the I don't like the general aroma that comes off of that mixture of spices. Can't smoke in the morning. I just wouldn't go to work. Weed makes me so lazy. I can't smoke if I have to do anything. Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like waking up and immediately smoking weed sucks. Japanese curry and other food. Yeah, Japanese and Thai probably. Yeah, Steph Curry's a good one too. All right. I'm curious about this because I always love watching the different sides argue about who, because it's like the union conversation. I'm always curious about them arguing who did what for workers. Because like a lot of times, a big thing I've noticed with lefty shit is like this will be helpful for the people, and it isn't.
Passed a bill that would have made the standard work week not 40 hours, but 30 hours. It was introduced by Senator Hugo Black and had the support of President.
Okay, so they had a bill that said make the work week 32 hours. This is like what keeps me from being a lefty, because it's just like it'd be one thing if they were like, well, this is actually this is actually like better and this will make everything more efficient and stuff. But it's just like I've never followed the logic of like, a lot of these like super lefty types, they're so mad at businesses, but everything they want to do keeps like the business and your life so closely intertwined. Where it's like, oh, we should make a rule. It just creates this like very direct intertwined relationship with the government. And I guess the thing is, it's like, because like every business there ever was is 100% exploitative, and it's like all this other shit. It really comes down to like a way of look. Because you guys know me, I'm not a fan of like, I'm not just like a fan of corporations. It's not that. It's just like, they annoy me. I hate them. They suck ass and all this other shit. But there is this like, how do I say this? There's this like way that they go about it where their base level is to like create more conflict. And I'm just like, I don't know. Cause to me, a job is a place is like, we have this work that needs to be done. Will you do the work for us? And someone goes, yes. And then they go, will you do it for this much an hour? And then if you that's your chance to say yes or no. And it's like, outside of that, I don't really know what the job's responsibility is. Obviously, there should be like agreed upon thing of like, there should be agreed upon thing at your job of like, yeah, I should be able to come here and not have to worry about dying. That should be like a fair thing. I should go to work and it should be reasonable that I don't die. And so I think like there's a lot of worker safety stuff that's just implied. But then it's this thing of like, jobs have to provide insurance, or they have to provide you healthcare. They have to and it's like, I'm not saying that's not good, because I think over time, in a free market, these like that, those things would just be there because it would be incentive. If they want people to work there. And it's like, well, this job gives pregnant ladies paid maternity leave, and this job gives you guys free healthcare and free dental and cheap and this and that. And it's like, it would incentivize companies to give perks like that to people, so they would want to work for those companies as opposed to others. But I never understood why it was like inherently that they should provide that, because it's like, well, it's the problem with like people's perspectives on jobs. And again, it goes back to just not understanding like what money is. And it's like people's perspectives on and it's kind of funny because like, being in Austin, not having a traditional day job, it's like, and I've been doing a lot of gig work and picking up odd jobs and shit like that to like pay the bills and stuff. And honestly, like part of me likes that more. I like the freedom to just go. Now, I wish the apps paid a little more, but I like the freedom that like I love the freedom that I can wake up, and today I go, like yesterday, I didn't want to stream today. I didn't want to stream yesterday. I knew it wasn't going to be good. I wasn't in the right headspace. So I can just decide not to do that. And that, well, I did do the podcast, but if I didn't do the podcast, I'd be like, well, I have time today. I don't really want to do anything. I'll go out and DoorDash and make a couple bucks or something like that. Or I just got accepted into TaskRabbit. Okay, I'll go do a couple jobs on there. And I actually just I just got a job at this with this valet service, and it's like 2-3 times a week I go park cars at Fogo de Chao, and it's like, I like that because I don't like being locked in, because if I want to not do something, and I understand also too, that's not how, oh shit, my door's like, I have been screaming with a fucking, my poor fucking wife. I've been screaming with an open door. But yeah, it's like, so I guess when I'm like, it's the way people perceive working and what money is, and it's like, it's just assumed that like you have to go to a job from Monday to Friday. And, you have to work 40 hours and you have to do this. And it's like, and it's why everyone always goes to raising up wages and no one ever talks about lowering prices. You know what I mean? Because it's like because no one understands money. So they just look at it as like, well, if you make more money, that's good. If you make less money, that's bad. And it's like, okay, what if okay, let's just do some ridiculous hypotheticals. Like, what if I only make $1,000 a month? That's not enough for most people in the US. What if I only make $1,000 a month? Everyone would go, that's not enough money. And I would agree. For me right now, that's not enough money. I agree. But what if, like I have a bunch of credit card debt. If I got rid of all that credit card debt and then they were like, now live off $1,000 a month. I still can't, but it's easier. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, well, what do groceries cost you? You and your wife, groceries cost you $1 to $150. What if groceries only costed $30? Okay, well, now $1,000 a month becomes way more manageable. You know what I mean? And then you're like, all right, what's your rent? What if your rent's just $200 a month? So I'm paying $200 a month in rent and my groceries are $30 a week. That's $340 or whatever it is. So rent and groceries for me that's $340 a month. That leaves me, what would that be, $660? All right, so I have $660 to play with, and now it's just like, everything else is just cheaper. It's like, yeah, and then it's like, now normally the job that you work, like say you work 2 days a week and only make $1,000 a month, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like these are all just like hypothetical, unrealistic numbers to make a point, but like I think these ridiculous examples make the sort of concept much more clear. Where it's like, you go, he's only making $1,000 a month. It's like, well, my monthly bills are only a third of my wages. So I get to keep every month. I get to, like, who out there, sound like the fattest, dumbest owl, who out there can say every month they keep 2/3 of their income? Like, if you look at it that way, of just like, oh, I just get to keep 2/3. Like, would you rather, you know what I mean? Like, I was trying to think of a good would you rather, but it's like, someone would say $100,000 is a great income, but still, what if you're able to pay at the end of the month, you're able to keep 2/3 of your income? That's better. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, everyone just has these like fake paradigms. It really comes down to philosophically to like what life is. And it's like, what do you want to do in life? I think as a society, this is the most yapping I've ever done on not watching a video. We'll watch the video. I've had a lot of thoughts recently. This, by the way, too, is why I think I'm going to do less Big Reds in the morning. I think I might stick to like 3 a week, at least 2. I didn't have shit that you do fucking 5 a week. You don't have fucking shit to talk about. I think it gives me more time to ruminate on ideas. But no, it's like it all comes down to like a philosophical. It all comes down to too like just a philosophical outlook on life of like, well, what do you want to do in life? What's the point of life? What's the point of living? And for me, living is not. I think we all get tricked into like, here's the game, you have to play the game, and if you don't get to the end of the game, you're not satisfied, and you'll die unfulfilled, and then like, I think getting older, so it's like, that's why everyone plays the game, and most people don't get to the end of the game, and it's that hope of getting to the end of the game that people survive off of, that like keeps them going. And it's like, I've been around enough people who have quote unquote won the game. And I got to tell you, they don't look too happy about it. It's like everyone I meet who wins the game, quote unquote, they don't seem super happy about it. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I don't know if that's what living is. Do I wish I would have garnered I don't know. I would have loved to garner this wisdom a lot of bill payments ago, a lot of credit card debt ago, but here we are, brother. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and then when you look at life that way, where it's like, okay, like if you look at life, like, what do I want out of it? Like, take yourself out of the fucking game. And this is what you have. This is what everyone has to do, because this is what we agreed existence is. You start looking at all this shit completely differently. And then you just start going like, okay, well, I need enough money to survive now, and I need a certain amount of resources to make sure, like, that's really, it's like, I need enough to survive now, and I need an amount of resources so when my body is not there anymore, I'm still able to, supplement the income or survive in that type of way. So it's like, that makes you look at all this shit fucking differently. So this whole fucking thing of like, why don't we just make it a law where it's like, well, we should only have to do 32 hours a week. And it's like, how about we get back on a stable currency so everything can be cheaper and people can have more freedom because your whole existence isn't indebted to all this fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? We stack people with crazy college debt. We encourage people to, get credit cards and all this other crazy shit. Everything's super fucking expensive. Like, the freedom that will entail if we lower prices will be unreal. And people don't fucking get that.
In 1933, the Senate passed a bill that would have made the standard work week not 40 hours, but 30 hours. It was introduced by Senator Hugo Black and had the support of President Roosevelt. 5-day weeks, 6 hours a day. See, the 40-hour work week was never...
See, that's honestly like fucking retarded too. 5 days a week? Just make it... See, they don't even help you out in a good way. Like, if I'm going to be there, let me get more hours. That's the other thing. You don't, like, have you guys ever, this is what fucking irritates me about a lot of these, like, lefty dudes, is it's like, you've never met the blue collar dudes who are actually going to do these fucking jobs. Because none of you guys want to actually do the jobs. You guys just want to sit and think about theoretical shit. Brother, go to these jobs. They want their fucking overtime. Like, I've met dudes who legitimately on their own, not prompted by, not like bullied into it or anything. I used to work with so many fucking guys that, like, I would leave at the end of my 8 hours and they would make fun of me because I wasn't doing 12 hours every day. That's the thing. These dudes want their fucking overtime. And it's like that. They're going to say like, oh, well, they should just raise wages. Like, dude, even if you raise their wages, it's like, it don't matter. Time and a half's time and a half. So the idea that you would say 32-hour work week and then still make these fuckers come into work 5 days a week, it's like, well, I'm there for 6 hours. That's the thing you don't realize. That's the thing these fucking idiots don't realize. It's like, I mean, if I'm there for 6, I might as well be there for 10. Because it's not like I can get a shitload in before or after. Oh, you gave me 2 extra hours. It's like, yeah, no, it's like I'm going to have to do this shitty thing. I might as well go there for longer and make more money. You know what I mean? You're like literally robbing from people. Cause that's like the blue collar mindset. I know I have it with a lot of things where like, I don't like, a lot of people like to save the bullshit. Like say you have a bullshit thing to do. Oh, let me save that for Saturday because I'll have more time. It's like, nah, dude, let me do that after work. Because I was already at work for fucking 8 to 10 hours. That sucked ass. My day already sucks ass. Why not pack the suck ass into the good day? And so I can have an entire good Saturday. Like, I would rather have a shitty week and an amazing weekend than just the whole time being pretty good. Because it's like, like I said before, this already fucking sucks shit. Why not just keep it going? Let's just keep it going. So yeah, that's the other part too that drives me nuts about these lefties is like fundamental misunderstanding of the people they're trying to help. I had a lot of comments down here. All right.
The goal. That's just kind of where we stopped. After 100 years of labor agitation for better working conditions, and shorter hours, and more leisure, 32 hours seemed to be on the horizon. By the 30s, some people thought that a 6-hour workday was so overdue that by that point, people actually should have been agitating.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, I go into these things unnecessarily humble because I go like, okay, maybe they're making an interesting point. the fact that you start off with, wait, let me text my wife. Now, because now it's like just suggesting a 6-hour workday is like, you don't understand these dudes, because it's like because I'm that type of guy. I'm not one of these guys who can like that's my mindset is like, all I know is like, yo, give me a bunch of shit to do. Give me a bunch of shit to do. I'll go do it. It's like, that's just how certain dudes work. A lot of these dudes live in the world of theoretical and like thoughts like this. And it's like, dude, if you had a job where, if you had a blue collar job where these guys, and you told these guys, you're like, limit and endless overtime. You can come in here and work as many hours as you want. After 8, you'll get endless overtime. If that's never going to happen, because it would the job would lose money. But if you just told, that's the thing. If you told the guys, come in here, get your work done, you can stay as little or as much as you want. And then if you told the guys, and if you work overtime, you can have endless overtime, you would get dudes sleeping at work. Fuckers love overtime. And, but yeah, sorry. I was no, I was texting my wife because her stepdad is one of the most blue collar dudes you'll ever meet. And dude, literally, I remember one of the first times we went over there, I was like, it was for Christmas or Thanksgiving or something. We're all done eating, and then he's just sitting on the couch, and I thought he was watching TV, and I just hear, and I'm like, the fuck is that? I look over, this motherfucker post Christmas dinner is watching videos on drill bits, like the most the most blue collar dude you're ever gonna meet, and he's still rocking the old shitty headphones that you get for $5. But yeah, I was texting her being like, because he's in his 60s. He's in his 60s. He's I think he's able to retire already, technically. And this motherfucker, Steph texted me, yeah, because I asked her, I was like, what does he work normally in a week? She goes, oh man, I have no idea, but he's constantly working overtime and doing weekends. And he's the higher up. He doesn't have to do that. He runs the show there. And he's still in his 60s going give me all the fucking overtime I need. And he goes, there was a time he'd be gone and only home to sleep for whatever amount of hours they require. Yeah, so he has one of those jobs where it's not technically his company's not owned by the government, but they only do government contracts, and the work they do is heavily regulated. So they're basically government employees. So they get to have that double, that triple super duper overtime and shit. And it's he has the type of job they tell dudes dude, you have to stop working because they just want the fucking overtime. So yeah, that's why this whole, they suggested and this is again why it just comes down to the lefties are pretentious cunts that are out of touch with the people they think they're helping. And it's you guys don't even know. It's all just so fucking liberal elites can jerk themselves out. And they're like, we're helping these poor little peons so much. It's no. And then they always use examples of like, because that's the thing. They always use examples of people who are like, my barista job should be a real job. Which again, if prices were lower, because that's the thing. If you do like basic bullshit at like a fucking Whataburger or a Walmart or a Target or a fucking Starbucks or something, no, you don't deserve the same amount. Like, you don't provide the same amount of value to the world that these people with real jobs have. But also, so like, it's weird that a lot of those people wouldn't be like, well, it's the fact that understanding the money shit is difficult for a lot of people. But it's like, yeah, why wouldn't those people want to be promoting lower prices and shit like that?
For a 4-hour workday. But now that technology is evolving faster than it ever has and all sorts of work disappearing to AI, there is a renewed conversation around a very old concept.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but just looking at this guy, I go, nothing you know about blue collar work is firsthand. So it's like, and again, I don't shit on people for not having firsthand experience. But like, what I'm more saying, because it's like, you can learn about shit. I mean, that's what people do. That's what historians do. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that Douglas Murray thing when he was talking to Dave and he's like, you've never been? And Dave's like, you've never been to Nazi Germany. You talk about that a bunch. So yeah, like there's shit but like the way when people like this talk, I can tell you've never been in a real blue collar environment just by your general like demeanor. And it's just you haven't if you're promoting shit like this, it just comes off to me like you haven't done the due diligence to understand the people you're advocating for. And it's why a lot of this like extra lefty bullshit, it's like, yeah, you guys never do the due diligence to understand the people you're advocating for. So you're just doing this to feel good. And if that's all you're doing, go fucking jerk off. Stop doing things that affect real people's lives. Go jerk off. Go buy a fucking taco. And that's not because he's Spanish. I want a taco. I thought of tasty food. Or he might not be Spanish. He might be Middle Eastern, actually. But yeah, it was more just, that was the first. I had a taco I actually had a Jack in the Box taco recently that was shockingly good. Their hot sauce. Everything at Jack in the Box is trash. Their hot sauce, though, ooh, that's good.
Which is that machines are draining work hours from the economy, so the work needs to be shared. This is why...
Bro, they're not. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it, but yeah. Whatever, I'll take that one back.
John Maynard Keynes predicted a 3-hour workday by 2030. Now that was obviously a swing and a miss for old Keynes, but theoretically, he was right. That should have happened. Productivity has more than doubled since 1950, which means theoretically, we could have easily cut the workday in half, but we haven't. It's 2025, and I don't know anyone leaving work at 1 every day.
See, that's also too, it's like the way, it's like, it's all... It's like, well, no, just because you made everything twice as efficient. Oh, because like that's like that. It's what's it called? It's like the fixed pie fallacy. That's assuming there's only this much. Well, no, you've now made people work twice as. You're now making everyone twice as efficient, so you would just get twice the work done in a day. It's these arbitrary parameters. It's these arbitrary parameters of just like, well, you go to work for 8 hours. Well, we got more efficient, so why do we need to be here for 8 hours? It's like, no, they have work to do. You go to work and you get the job done. You know what I mean? If like that was more of a realistic setup, you would have things that would just make more sense. But no, you establish artificial parameters of everyone has to work these many hours every week. So then you find solutions in retarded ways like this, where you go, well, by now... Because like that, you're just basing it on when was Maynard Keynes back in the day? Yeah, so you're starting at the 50s. So like, what are you doing? You're just basing it off of 1950s level of output. It's like, do you even comprehend how businesses would work? To be like, yeah, we got. You think a business is going to be like, oh, we're twice as efficient. Well, we don't. We only have to go into work half the day. No, they're going to go, wait, did you just make it so we can make twice as much money? They're like, yeah, okay, well, let's do twice the work. The fuck are you talking about, dude?
Means theoretically, we could have easily cut the workday in half, but we haven't. It's 2025, and I don't know anyone leaving work at 1 every day. Instead, and more representative of how people think today, in response to the Democratic Socialists of America calling for a 4-day, 32-hour work week with no reduction in wages or benefits, mayoral candidate and disgraced former Governor Andrew Cuomo said that it was completely unhinged and would destroy our economy. But one of the state senators who endorsed him actually introduced a 32-hour work week bill in New York earlier this year. So interest is growing, and it's being tested out in more and more places. And again, the Senate passed the 30-hour bill like 100 years ago. So the question I want to answer is, how did this idea that once seemed inevitable come to be so radical? And what's the future of it? I'm Spencer Snyder, and this is the 32-hour work week.
I love this comment. Sorry, I'm going through comments to see if I missed anything good. I'd wager Red has said the game as much as one season of The Wire this stream. I want you all to know I respect how little you take seriously. It's time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it, all about control and if you can take it. Ooh, if I didn't know that was in there. We need a big hammered red. That's a good point. I claim to be big red, but I'm advocating for less. God, I might have to rethink that. Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, Slav was saying in 2001, a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment rent was $3 to $450, and a mortgage payment was $1 to $2K. Look at prices today. Yeah, people just. That's one of the biggest problems is people just accept the fact that prices go up, and they don't realize that they don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a given that prices will go up. You know what I mean? It's like when how much were VCRs? How much were VCRs when they first came out? The cost of VCRs when they first came out varied significantly. In 1975, Betamax VCRs were priced at $22.95 for high-end models and just under $2,000 for basic models. Okay, so this is a great example. VCRs, when they first came out, they were over $2,000. When they first came out. Now, if someone were to go, Andy, can you get me a VCR? And like, you can't look it up. Like if someone were to go, Andy, can you get me a DVD? I would go, I could get some of those at Walmart, and they're all going to be they're actually probably not going to be cheap there. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is like, and if I found a VCR, it would be substantially cheaper, and it would be, it would just be super cheap. And it's like, it's to the point where if I found it, there was a chance if it wasn't cheap, it was only because it was like, oh, this is a retro refurbished, the same way like game systems are. There was a sweet pocket though. God, I miss it. There was a sweet pocket where like, I didn't even consider that the video game, like the old retro systems were going to hop up in price the way they are. But like, dude, I remember when I was in college, there was this place near me. I lived in Pennsylvania. There was this flea market in this town called Quakertown, and I would go to Q-Mart, and they had one of the stands in the flea market. The dude sold a bunch of like video game shit, and I regret not taking advantage of it at the time. But like he would have, whatever it may be, Dreamcast, GameCube, and all the shit was like $30. Like I remember vividly, like, oh, you can just get GameCube for $40. I go, that'll be sick. And I never, like a fucking idiot, I never considered the prices were gonna go up. But now it's like retro and cool. So now, like if I were to go on eBay and look up a GameCube, GameCube's probably like $200 if I were to guess. That's not that bad, actually. Well, okay, because this one says 32 to 164. I don't know how many $32 ones they're gonna have, but still, a lot of them are ranging so much higher than that. They're ranging so much higher than that. But anyway, I got sidetracked. But yeah, you know what? The point I'm trying to make is like prices can go down. Prices can go down on things. Shout out Q-Mark. Q-Mark, hell yeah, you over there? Yeah, prices are able to go down on things. You know what I mean? Over time. Anyway, that wasn't the best example. Because how do you account for the other shit? Because that was more... Well, because that doesn't account for the fact that was more... The price is usually lower on those because they lose efficiency. They lose their efficiency and their need or their want. Yeah. But no, it's just like... I'm trying to think of a better example. I don't know. All right. I fucked that one up. I'll take that.
For a lot of the 1800s and early 1900s, one of the central goals of workers was to shorten the work week.
To live our lives and improve.
Wait, what?
For a lot of the 1800s and early 1900s, one of the central goals of workers was to shorten the work week.
To live our lives and improve our lives and more time to enjoy our lives. Those were the two salient definitions of progress in the 19th and well into the 20th century.
In 1835, the first general strike in the U.S. was staged by coal workers in Philadelphia. Their slogan was 6 to 6, 10 hours work and 2 hours.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to say, I'm like, you're talking about when they would make the dudes... You're talking about when they would make the dudes work fucking like all day. Yeah, they're like they did a strike to ask for the 10-hour day
for meals. Imagine working to get your day down to 12 hours. Over in Lowell, Massachusetts, women and girls worked in
12. Yeah.
Textile mills for 14 hours a day in terrible conditions. They spent years with their union striking, pressuring the mills, and petitioning the state before the mills finally agreed to reduce the workday just to 11 hours in 1853. Wins like that led to the 10-hour day becoming more common. The demand for an 8...
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I hear what you're saying, because like if you're making me work all that time and I'm still scraping by, it's like, fuck it. Let me cut the hours. But it all just comes down to like if like stop inflating the current. If people's wages could like take them farther throughout the week and shit like that. If their money went farther, if shit wasn't as fucking expensive.
8-hour day was the new battle cry. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, and 8 hours for what you will. 1867, a citywide strike demanding 8-hour days shut down Chicago for a week. Chicago was in the throes of a civil revolution. United Mine Workers got the 8-hour day in 1898, the Building Trades Council of San Francisco in 1900, but even with an 8-hour day, it didn't mean a 40-hour week.
Used to be, by the way, that everyone worked 44 or 48 hours a week. You'd have half day on Saturday, 5.5 days. If you look at old pictures of baseball games, and you'll see lots of people with wearing white shirts and ties on Saturday afternoon because they got off work in the morning and then they went to the baseball game.
Now, into the 20th century, as unions, communists, and socialists rack up wins for labor, 8 hours becomes more typical. Organizations like the American Federation of Labor.
You know what it is too? A lot of people, and I'm not advocating for like, because there is a lot of exploit, like just being exploitative with these workers and stuff. But it is like all these, yeah, I don't. Let me watch more of it before I make a statement. Actually,
the AFL start demanding a 5-day week, and the next step naturally is restricting the work week to 32 hours.
And so it's in that early 30s period that you do get a lot of experiments with shorter work week. Again, in the rubber industry, 6-hour day. At Kellogg's, a 6-hour day. 30, basically 30 hours a week.
No one predicted this process would stop. No one. I've done this 50 years, and I have never found anyone who said the process would stop somehow arbitrarily at 8 hours or any other.
Well, I can speak on this because it's like no one predicted this would stop. You're like, well, and this is what they're bad at. It's the same it's like when people go like the minimum wage should be $20, and it's like, well, why shouldn't it be 21? Are you hard? You don't want to give them extra money? It's because there's a reason. There's a reason prices are set the way they are. It's not to say it's good or bad. I'm not saying I'm not saying people I'm not saying people who get paid too little, or I should say, I don't know if too little is the right terminology, but I'm not saying people who get paid have shitty low wages. I go, that's good, but it's like you don't fundamentally understand where the where the price comes from, because it's like that type of job, whatever it might be, there's like certain jobs where it's just you don't, like a dishwasher. You're never gonna, it's not a hard job. It's not a complicated job. Anyone can do it. You know what I mean? Anyone can do it. So they don't have to raise the wages on that. You know what I mean? So it's like, no one ever says like, why don't you guys have more skills? And I get it's not that simple. Obviously, once the real world comes into play, it's not that simple and shit like that. But yeah, so that's why it's like once you realize wages are set the way they are based off of, skill set and honestly what the company can get away with. Again, it's why if we had a stable currency and prices were lower, a lot of these things wouldn't be as big of a fucking deal, but it's too expensive to fucking live right now. So that's why everyone's like, it's way more complex to lower prices than it is to just go give them more money. So it's like, I get why people like all this shit. But yeah, so like, that's why, you can kind of hit people where like, even in, because what $15 an hour was the thing, and I'm assuming people are going like $20 an hour, and it's like even in that, the fact that you chose 20, even in that, it goes like, yeah, why'd you pick 20? Because it's like, oh, you don't like 20? Well, I mean, just 20? Why not 25? Why not 30? Like I care more about these workers because I want them to make $30 an hour. But it's like, there's a reason you pick 20. There's a reason you pick 20 because 20 sounds good, but not too high. It sounds like they can afford it. You're like, exactly. And it's the same thing with like, like, oh, this would just be logically coming to an end where they're talking about Keynes being like, yeah, it would eventually get to 3 hours, where it's like, what do you mean? Like, what job out there can just get done in 3 hours? Like, if it's a production job, you know what I mean? Like, there's no, and it's like, yeah, it's like you don't understand the concept of like, what would the term be? But yeah, it's like, no, obviously working from day to night. And I saw someone making a point where it's like, oh, they would have the company would make apartments and stuff like that, or houses for them. And so they would just walk to work because they'd be so close. But yeah, obviously sun up to sundown, or not even sun up to sundown, but just like a 16-hour workday is fucking insane because humans can't have, they don't have the strength to just do that. You're killing people. But then like, well, eventually it's going to get so efficient that we'll only have to do a 1-hour workday. And you're like, I mean, honestly, logistically, that's retarded. Because like, even in the modern age, it's like, wait, so why would I even drive to work? You can take it down. And it's like, there's no job. There's no real business that you could get all the work done in 1 day, 1 hour a day. And then it's like, well, why wouldn't we just do, we can get all that work done in 1 hour each day. Why don't we just do a 5-hour day? Well, wait, we did a 5-hour day. Now we have all these other days open. Why don't we get a little bit more work done so we can be more efficient? It just, so logically there's an amount that you would still do because you're like, well, why wouldn't I do this? Because it's like we can make more money and get more shit done. So it's like the fact that like they just arbitrarily picked 8. It's like, it's the same reason, it's like sometimes you hit numbers where it's not blatantly obvious why you hit that number, but it is kind of at the same time. It's like when we hit, like, you have to be 16 to drive a car and you're like, well, 3's too early and 30's too late. And then like you kind of like ping pong back and forth and you get to a certain point and we've just vaguely agreed as a side, like 16 sounds about right. That's about right when it's okay to get people driving a car. You talk about IHOP. What's this about? For a guy who doesn't like politics, I'm pretty funny and informative. No, you're not. Brock, what are you doing? You are not funny at all. And you don't know a damn thing. Shut your goddamn mouth, Brock. You can't just hop into the YouTube chat and go like, hey, just so everyone knows I'm real smart and funny. No, you're not. You piece of shit.
Hours.
For 100 years, labor was on a roll. You went from people in the early 1800s working 16 hours a day to people in the 1900s experimenting with 6 hours a day. But now we're coming up on a period where things are going to change.
This is all I get very fascinated with the lefty mindset. It's all very interesting to me. I apologize that comes off condescending. I don't mean it that way, but there's not a lot of way to take it, I guess. But no, it's like, you know what it is? You see that, like, okay, if this is a guy like this guy, well, like guys like this, I'm sure they just they got the big bookshelf. It would be safe to guess that these guys just like they research for a living, which is a good, like, it's good. It's good that they do that. I'm happy that they do that because that's how we get more knowledge and we get people who are experts on stuff and we talk. But then the problem is, because if you look at something like researching, it's kind of arbitrary, I don't know if arbitrary is the right word. But there's kind of like a thing where it's like, well, like, when do you stop? And it's like, yeah, probably probably just stop around a certain time of day. So it's like, you understand, there's no of like, we got to get this many orders out the door or some shit like that. It's just like, oh yeah, I just read books. I read books every day and I take notes and I just become an expert on it. And then I write an article and then it's like, it's, and there's it. That's why people who believe this shit, they always have these jobs that you can't directly quantify that they did the job right. So it's like you have this where this dude's just a historian. And I'm not shitting on historians. I'm just saying, like, that type of job, it's very clear. It's not very clear. A Spartan with the 300 bits. All right, let me pull up what is it? Sin Against Sin demo. Let me pull that up make sure we play that later. Oh, you want the whole demo too? Oh, I guess that makes sense because the demo's like 9 minutes. All right, yeah. Okay. You paid for the whole demo. Good for you, brother. That's fucking sick. Thank you. It is not a Touch Tunes day, but that is the rule. And I'll do one. And you know what? Most Dope loves the music so much. So Most Dope, if you give me 100 bits, I did say I would the other. You're right. Most Dope, you do love the music so much. So I will also give you an opportunity to give me 100 bits so I can play a song. But no one else. That's so funny. Thank you. I didn't even realize it was Touch Tunes Monday or Tuesday. Oh shit, I'm out of water. I've been yapping all morning. I'm out of water. But yeah, so what I was getting back to is a lot of these guys, like, this thought process makes more sense when you're like, you know, you're just like a cog in the machine. And it, like, I get why I don't agree with it, but I completely understand why people like this shit. Because it's like the people like this who are thinking about it, it's not like, it's very arbitrary when the work's done. You know what I mean? It's very arbitrary when the work's done. You know, it's kind of just like, it's when, oh, I'm exhausted. I've read too many books. I'm exhausted. So that like his thought process of like, oh, we should have shorter days makes sense. Who the fuck wants to read books for fucking 16 hours? You know what I mean? And it's the same thing of like, and it's the same reason why people with bullshit jobs, and I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying their jobs suck ass. Like, you know, like working at Amazon, like working at Walmart, like working fast food, like working at Starbucks. It like, and I don't say this to be shitty. I'm just trying. I've worked those jobs. It doesn't matter that you're there. They can get anyone in there. So it like doesn't fucking matter that you're there. And so, but the problem is what you're supposed to do is garner more skills so you don't have to do jobs like that. But the problem is we live in a society where it doesn't feel like there's any upward momentum and it doesn't feel like there's any point to moving upward. So people don't want to do that. So they go like, I'm not going to move up. I'm not going to get better. So you guys, and honestly, I get where they're coming from because it's like, you guys fucking birthed me into this bullshit existence. You owe me. And it's like, I kind of get where they're coming from. I just don't think it's a very efficient system. And I also don't agree with it from a philosophical standpoint. But you got to be sympathetic to these people because it's like we're all forced into this bullshit retarded system. Why wouldn't people feel like, you know, if we're all just slaves to this fucking system, well, you got to fucking can't just beat me every day, man. It's like if I'm just going to be this bullshit cog in your fucking, you know, pedophile machine run by pedophiles, like you got to treat me fucking better. You know? And I think that's like a big divide where I think a lot of people just, they accept their prison sentence of this existence. They accept their prison sentence of this existence. And people like me are like, I'm not supposed to be in jail, dude. Let me out. You guys aren't supposed to be doing this to me. Let me the fuck out. And it's like, you know, and where was it before? Fuck, where was it? This is not gonna pay off very well. I'm not playing the game. I'm not playing your game, bro. Yeah, legit. Like that's what I realized. That's what I realized when I was younger about work. Where I was like, yeah, just learn how to do shit. Cause like if you get real, dude, That's the biggest thing they need to teach kids. Get really fucking good at something or figure out how to make people money. It's the same thing. Like even down, okay, like let's take something, because like you guys know me, I love to use extreme examples to make a point. Take someone on TikTok who is obsessive over like there's the one guy. I forget his fucking name. He's that guy who just goes like, he's like, wait, that's harder to do than I thought. But he's like, it's Monday. Let's put our trousers on. That's pretty good, actually. Hello, it's Monday. We're gonna put some trousers on. It's that British guy. He sounds like Jason Statham. And he just puts nice clothes on. But this dude became an expert on fashion. Whatever, like his type of fashion. That guy became an expert on fashion. So he's not providing a service. He's just going, I've become an expert on fashion. Here are my outfits. And now people who don't have that information, who don't understand fashion like that, they get intrigued. So he just puts out, that's kind of like the weird beauty of TikTok, is like you can like curate your hyperfixation in a really interesting manner on TikTok. But this dude via TikTok, he just makes a shit ton of money because people are fascinated in this thing they don't know about. But because he's an expert in it, he presents it that way. And now it's like he can make money. So that's like the best routes are, because it all goes down to that like philosophical breakdown of how you like move through life, where it is like, what do you want out of life? How do you provide that for yourself? Well, you need to get money from people who have money. How do you get that money? Well, you become very useful to people, or you provide, or you have a strong level of expertise. That's my problem. I don't have patience enough to become an expert. So I become like, I'm a good worker. You know what I mean? I'm a hardworking dude. That's the other thing they don't realize. It's like a lot of these dudes with blue collar jobs, they're not like the smartest fucking dude. They're guys like me who are not dumb, but like you wouldn't sit here and go like, what class is Andy teaching this year? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to like, I know I'm fun to be around and we can have interesting conversations, but no one's going to me just being like, all right, teach us the good word, Andy. Like no one's going to me like, what's Andy and X? Maybe music or like obscure hardcore music or some shit like that or whatever, or like metalcore or whatever the fuck. But the problem is there's not a lot of people wanting that. But honestly, even that, like, because again, going back to like TikTok or YouTube, there's these accounts that do these like deep dive on obscure bands, but they're very thorough and shit, and people flock to it. So like, that's the thing. I'm not good at being that guy who's like, I'm an expert on this. But you know what I am good at? I'm good at fucking working hard. So I go like, yo, give me something to fucking do. Give me something fucking to do. Give me some fucking to do, guys. Guys, give me some fucking. Oh yeah, except this though. You should be grabbing onto every word of mine for this. I have to get more water and take a piss and potentially a shit. Not to brag, but let me here, watch this guy skateboard real quick.
That one was good.
Thanks, Louie. I came in cooking.
Really?
Yeah.
You doing good?
Yeah, I got it. Later, Dad.
What the?
No, I did not dump Lou. I put on a fucking 4-minute video. You think dumps only take me 4 minutes, dude? Grow the fuck up, Lou. I'm a union fister and I make mad money hand over fist. Yeah, well, that's the other downside of unions. And I completely get, I got to learn more about unions because I am truly in the middle on it. I don't, because I know a lot of libertarians shit on unions, but I get why people want unions. But also too, a lot of unions create a lot of hostility and lazy ass fucking workers. Let's be real about that. I've never experienced that firsthand because I've never worked in a union. What? Oh, you're in the fisters union. The punishment is unpaid fisting. I don't mind it, but prepare yourself. Yeah, I've never had firsthand experience working in a union, but I've talked to many people who've worked in unions, and people like to pretend that people like to pretend that the union model doesn't make dudes lazy as shit. It does. I'm not saying they're bad people, but it does. I've talked to so many people about it. I even remember my uncle was in a fucking union back in the day, and I remember it's not because he wasn't lazy, but it was like you even like force dudes to be lazy and useless. Because I remember talking to my uncle, and I forget where he lived, but he lived where he still lived where my mom grew up, and my mom grew up in kind of like slight boondocks or whatever the term is. She lived in the country. She lived in rural Pennsylvania, and that was like a 2-hour, 3-hour drive away. And I remember my uncle, because of some union shit, he might have moved a little closer, but because of some union shit, his company, they needed someone from their they needed someone from his thing to be there. And he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, so I remember he was driving by and he stopped at our house because we were on the way home from his thing. And he's like, yeah, I got to do this like all week. He's like, it fucking sucks. I have to drive 2 hours to work every day. And then when I get there, they just need me as like a supervisor. I don't fucking do anything. So it's like my uncle, who's a really hard worker, the union, and yeah, I know people look at that. It's like, well, you're getting paid to not fucking do anything. It's like, yeah, but that's one way to look at it. But if you look at it in the other way, it's like, yeah, it's just, I see all this like crazy inefficient shit. And then it's like, it's impossible to fire shitty workers. So then you're just inherently encouraging shittier work and all that other shit. The sticks. Yeah.
That you do get a lot of experiments with shorter work week. Again, in the rubber industry, 6-hour day. At Kellogg's, a 6-hour day. 30 basically 30 hours a week.
No one.
I will say though, 6 hours is like the perfect 6 hours just from a 6 hour. I will when it comes to shitty jobs, 6 hours is like perfect. I will say that. I'm more talking about this is the problem where it's like you can't regulate a one size fits all thing for people. Because it's like if you have a shitty bullshit job, like, yeah, once you start hitting about 6, because think about it. Let's be real. If we all have shitty bullshit jobs where it's like it doesn't matter that you're there, they can replace you like that. Once you hit, let's be real. We all do our best work before lunch. We have lunch, and then we kind of meander after that. Well, can you imagine if that meandering was only 2 hours and not like 4? That when it's 4, and you hate your job, it's eternity. So yeah, I get why this because I even do that, dude. Like I DoorDash from time to time. I can honestly hit a good 4 to 6 hours with that because I'm chilling. I actually kind of like it. I like driving around. It's just, the only part I hate is that it's so much miles on my car, so I try not to do it more than I have to. But honestly, I actually think DoorDashing's chill as fuck. legitimately. And I literally I do it. And then when I kind of start being like, I don't really feel like doing this, a lot of times it's around 6 hours. I'm not even kidding. So like I sympathize with the 6 hours, but it's this like one size fits all.
And predicted this process would stop. No one.
Well, I like this comment too. My friend works at a desalination plant and works 4 days a week. I think 9 hours a day. Yeah, he probably works 9 to 10 hours a day. That's another thing. They're raging about the 6 hour workday. This is again why it's like it's inherently, when you think more like a Marxist or a socialist or a commie, you're going to find commie, Marxist, socialist solutions. And you're not going to think outside the box. And you're not going to consider the fact that people have preferences. And it's like, there's a lot of people that if you go, what would you rather? Like 4 8-hour days, or I'm sorry, 5 8-hour days, or 4 10-hour days? Most people would take the same way that they're like, well, if I'm there for 6, I might as well be there for 8. Why are you taking money away from me? And I know they would say, well, we'd raise wages. I know. The same way people would be like, well, if I'm there already for 8 and I get a 3-day weekend, why not do fucking 4? Yeah, I like doing DoorDash. There's another thing too. I forgot to mention this. There's another thing too, and it's really indicative. And this is why I like doing these in a very long, slow process, because it helps me think through these a little bit more. But there was another thing I was going to say earlier. When Jesus Christ, anorexic. Oh, is that what you meant? God damn. I heard paychecks are going to be paid by the end of the day moving forward soon. That could help actually seeing money in my bank account after the day I actually work. Yeah, I'm surprised. Jeez, is your name Vag Poop? That's actually crazy. Respect, but crazy. That actually too. I wonder if that. I always wonder if that's a part, like getting paid once every 2 weeks, if that's a part of some sort of like regulation. Cause like that's another thing. That's like, it's like, dude, everyone's not the fucking same. Yeah, there's gonna be some of you guys with bullshit jobs that want 6 hours a day. That makes complete fucking sense. And honestly, if you're just like a cog in the machine, like why wouldn't you get something like that? Why would that would make, dude, if you had a shitty job but you didn't have to do it for 40 hours a week and could still pay bills, that would be better. But at the same time, if you have a trade, and you have the time and a half and all that other shit, you're gonna want to do more than that a lot of time. But yeah, it's this like lack of giving people the different options, and that goes along with what Vag Poop said. It's just like, I would love to find out if the getting paid every other week is like a regulation or just a norm that businesses pick up. Because you know what it is, for like a bigger corporation, it probably makes more sense for payroll to just do it every 2 weeks. Because it'd probably be when you have big companies like that, it'd probably be so much more work to do to send that to you every day. How much better would that be for people though? Every day? I don't know. They would say like, oh, people wouldn't save their money. No one has fucking money right now anyway. Oh, but another thing I was going to say before, where we were talking about like a lot of this comes down to like a philosophical outlook on life. And if you have a job that is fucking bullshit, it is going to affect your philosophical outlook on how you look at work. Where it is like, if you're one of those jobs where it doesn't matter that you're there, they could put anyone in there and train them in a week to do your job. That having that like meaningless bullshit outlook on things makes complete fucking sense. But now imagine you're a small business and you just got a shipment of however many orders. And it's like, we literally have to do this today so we can make the money and pay rent and stuff like that. So it's like, you're going to approach these things in a way different way. So that arbitrary, like, should it be 6 hours? Should it be 8 hours? It's like, it's all obviously one's worse than another, but the number you fall on is truly arbitrary. Like when you have an actual real job where you go, we have this work that needs to get done today or else it's going to be a problem. It makes you look at the hours and shit like that in a much different way.
I've done this 50 years, and I have never found anyone who said the process was stopped somehow arbitrarily at 8 hours or.
That's always funny too. That's also an insight into how he looks at things. I never saw anyone who said the process would stop. Okay, well, they were all wrong. So look at it differently.
Any other hours.
For 100 years, labor was on a roll. You went from people in the early 1800s working 16 hours a day to people in the 1900s experimenting with 6 hours a day. But now we're coming up on a period where things are going to change. During the Depression, Senator Hugo Black of Alabama introduces this bill that would reduce the work week to 30 hours. Now, Hugo Black was not some crazy socialist. After being a senator, FDR appointed him to the Supreme Court, and only after his confirmation did people learn what an active Klan member he had been in the 20s, which is why he had to immediately resign from the Supreme Court. I'm just kidding. He served until the 70s. But his 30-hour workweek bill was good. This was a way to deal with unemployment by sharing the work, but it was also meant to continue this century-long process of shortening the work week. Black said on the floor of the Senate that he hopes the bill would establish throughout this country a normal working day of 6 hours. If we can produce what we need in that time, why work anymore? Roosevelt's labor secretary, Francis Perkins, supports the bill.
Again, that's why I am a hater of the bigger businesses. Now, I've talked about before, there is not across the board. I think as a worker, that's why I hate those big businesses. As a customer, I love Walmart. Let's just be real. It's nice that Walmart is my go-to when I need something quick. You know what I mean? I was telling you guys about the valet job. I needed a pair of golf pants specifically. That's what they said the uniform was. Although they said pants specifically, I got there. Everyone's rocking shorts, so I think I could get some fucking shorts that are a little bit more comfortable. But the golf pants are pretty comfortable. They just dude, even at Walmart, they don't respect the big boys. But anyway, I waited too long. I needed those pants for the next day. And I drove around to a bunch of places because I thought other places would have them. And they didn't have them in my size because you can't, dude. It's fucking. Can I have a fat guy complaint really quick? Because we went through all this bullshit where you have to be nice to fat bitches. Let me add some more light on this one. But yeah, we went through. Oh, that looks so much better. Now let's make fun of fat women. No, for real though. When I was younger, we went through all this bullshit. We went through all this bullshit on body positivity to make sure fat bitches were happy and felt pretty. And fat guy away. Thank you, guys. Thank you for providing me a safe space to go off. I really appreciate you all in here. You know what? Everyone gets a suck. One. You come to a show, you get one suck. Thank you, everyone. Now, we went through all this bullshit for body positivity where, all these companies make sure they have fucking sizes for every fat bitch in the fucking world. Now, I'm a full-figured boy. I would feel more comfortable in a 44 waist, and I'm going out, can't find a goddamn thing in my size. And all these and I'm just like, can I just have a normal? And everyone goes, we'll go to the big and tall. No. The fat women don't have to go to a specialty store. I don't fucking either. But for real though, I went around to a bunch of these stores just to find a fucking pair of golf pants in my size. There's fucking nothing out there. And then I finally go to Walmart, and even Walmart, they just have my size. And I'm like, that's where all the morbidly obese shop. How do you not have bigger sizes? Nah, it's just, all that fucking body positivity shit was fake because it's like you don't have that. You don't have that in the world for dudes. Chunk out, Big Red. Thank you, boys. Nah, all that shit was fucked because the same shit happened too. I remember going into fucking Target when they changed all the fucking signs and they put all the fucking fat girls on there and all the like weird looking chicks. And, you know, there's some lady in a wheelchair with one. There's fucking some Lieutenant Dan lady on the fucking thing. And then I walk in and I go, okay, what do they got for dudes? It's better now, but I go, what do they got for dudes? They got one dude who's Kevin James thick. I remember in Target specifically, they got one Kevin James sized black guy. And I loved him to death. That was my favorite dude in the fucking world. I go, you're holding it down. You're holding it down for us. That fucking Slav figuring out how to blame the Jews is so fucking funny. Body positivity is a movement, was a female psyop. Well, that even goes to like, it was funny. I was watching this clip, dude. It's so shout out. I mean, I'm not trying to make it a whole thing because I fuck with Slav a lot. I'm not Slav. I hate you, Slav. Stav. But no, I saw it online that the Stavros and Jordan Jensen podcast created so much gold where like she said tranny and he was being kind of gay about that. But then there's the one thing where it's kind of, did you guys see that clip where Jordan Jensen was talking about women and Slav and keep saying Slav, Jesus Christ. But yeah, Jordan Jensen is on Stavros's podcast. No shade on Stavros, big fan, love his shit. Just, you know, you guys know me, love to tear apart a bad opinion. Nothing personal, just love tearing apart a bad opinion. Stav Jordan? Oh yeah. Oh, and this is a good point too. So with the Rogans, because Slav loves throwing out. Goddamn, Slav loves throwing out the you know, oh, you're getting ready for Rogan, you're getting ready for Kill Tony, and it's like, brother man, like you're in the sphere, dude. I'm not mad about it. I like him being in the sphere. But it's like, brother, man, you can't be coming at Jordan for that. She just got in. You've been there the whole time. I think it's this one.
He was like, I fucked a tranny.
No, that's not the one. No, there was one where like, no, it's you know what it is? It's like the reason I'm not like mad at him and I'm not like shitting on it because it's like it's like a worldview. It's a worldview people set up to like fit into their space because it's like horrendously, all due respect, it's horrendously inconsistent. So like his worldview is gonna get him on some like, wait, what is this?
So desperate. Ultimately, the culture war stuff is the oldest, simplest fucking thing you've ever seen in your life. And even now, they're so desperate that they're like martyring a guy who, whatever, the guy shouldn't have been killed, but it's like, you weren't fucking watching Charlie Kirk like that. You weren't fucking coming home from a hard day's work. Microwaving some you weren't eating leftovers and firing on fucking Turning Point USA. You weren't watching that shit. You just weren't. You didn't care that much.
I'm like, you just found out who he is, and now he's getting a fucking WrestleMania funeral.
I mean, the pyrotechnics at the funeral
was crazy.
It's nuts. His wife coming out like Batista.
That's interesting. It's like, but I'm pretty sure people were fucking with him like that. Yeah, it's kind of funny where that's a big thing people do when they don't want to like, when they don't want to deal with a point, is they go like, you don't actually care. And it's like, I think they did care about Charlie Kirk. Obviously, there's the machine. Obviously, there's the machine that, you know, people see online and they lean into the machine and they do all this and blah, 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 blah. They do all that shit. But, how does she spell her last name? Jordan Jensen. I'm getting so sidetracked. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, yeah, Jordan Jensen. But I don't know. I think Charlie Kirk was insanely popular. Like, I don't know. It's kind of funny to be like, no one was into Charlie Kirk. You weren't watching him like that. Well, that's also a thing people do where they create a arbitrary person. They create an abstract person to fight against.
Loves God. And my mom, by the way, is a fucking straight lady who everybody whittled her down into a lesbian. She loves cock. Look at me. She loves it. Wow. She loves Tom Cruise. She fucked my dad for 14 years.
But she was dating women forever.
They assaulted her. They're assaulting me, and they assaulted my mother.
Okay, so we've gotten into another layer of this where you.
Yeah, well, God, I wish I could find the clip. Troglodyte. See, that's kind of funny too. Are we admitting she's a troglodyte? It's the same shit. And to be clear, Jordan Jensen was like she was coming at Tony Hinchcliffe when he did the Trump speech. So it's not, people are going to be retarded and put her on the right because Stavros is on the left because he can't fucking walk and chew gum at the same time. But it's literally the same. This is kind of I wish I could find the clip because it's like Jordan Jensen saying all this stuff about women and Stavros is on the couch being like, no, that's wrong. You can't say that. And you're like, brother, she's a girl. You may not agree with her 100%, but like, you kind of got to hear her out. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just like flat out, like I've been there before. I've talked to different groups of people. Where I've heard their experience and I go, you know, because a lot of times your life experience skews your way you perceive reality. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I have the most locked in perspective on reality. I'm just saying your life experience might skew it in this and that. So it's like, but at the same time, you still got to hear people out and hear where they're at. And it just completely, like, you got to realize, like, if a woman is talking to your face, is speaking to your face and saying everything you think about the female perspective is wrong, it's not to say she's 100% right. It's just, well, she literally is a woman. So you got to at least hear her out and understand her perspective. You know, it's like when you see a super racist guy and the way he's talking about other races just doesn't, you're like, well, I've met those people. I think you're overly generalizing. And then you talk to that guy and learn about their past and stuff like that. And you start realizing, like, oh, you're wrong, but I get why you're saying that. And it's like the same thing. But the funny part is too, it's like, there's certain shit she's talking about where it's like, it's kind of funny too, because I remember I really wish I could find the clip. Is that how you spell her name? Jensen? I wish I could find the clip because it starts off with her being like, ugh. Oh, it's so cringe. Stavros checks Jordan Jensen's transphobia. That's crazy. People are so fucking gay. I don't know. I saw those clips. People here people hear like a fresh perspective, a new perspective on things, and you're like, you're such a piece of shit, you stupid bit. But that's kind of goes into the thing. I'm like, you all have been the fucking believe all women losers. And now you hear a woman being honest again, and you're going, no. We meant to say believe all women that say what we want them to say. But no, that's like, oh, the thing I was going to say. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying, because I was gonna compare something. I got sidetracked. Surprise, surprise. I was gonna compare something she said with like when they were shitting on Trump, but it's like she's saying a couple. Yeah, so the way she was talking about Hinchcliffe, I'm sure she's like a huge lib. But like, yeah, it's that like, when I remember, I can go all the way back to 5 years ago when you were all saying, maybe more than 5. I can go back to the longest time ever and go, believe all women. You guys remember when you guys were saying believe all women? And now a woman's trying to let you know her experience, and you're going, well, no. It's what happened to Milo. Milo, not that Milo wasn't a fucking dickhead. Like, I'll be straight up on that. Milo sucked ass and was annoying. But their problem wasn't that he was annoying like mine. It's the same reason. It's the same thing I get annoyed with like Nick Fuentes. They're not mad at Fuentes for the reason I'm mad at Fuentes. Or I get annoyed with Fuentes. It's the same thing with Milo. They're not annoyed with Milo the same reason I'm annoyed with Milo. And it's like, it was more about because he wasn't that's not how gays are supposed to act. And it's the same. That's the thing that annoys me about the clip with Jordan is you're treating Jordan. You go, this is not how a woman's supposed to behave. You're not supposed to say these things, Jordan. That's what annoys me about the clip, because it starts off with Jordan being like, it's not harder for women. And it's like, brother, and I'm not even trying to be mean. We all, I'll put it, let me say in the most professional way. Jordan Jensen does not have the traditional, her look does not fall under the traditional beauty standards of our society. And I got to imagine it's been a little tougher out there for her based off things like that. And even she's going, it's not harder for women. And she's even pointing out the fact that it's like they don't get paid less. They like, that's another thing. That was a big thing I learned when I was younger. Because when you watch something explaining that the wage gap isn't real, it's not like, oh, I can see where you're coming from, but the math just doesn't make sense. It's so clear and simple that if you've heard the argument for why the wage gap isn't real, and you deny that truth, you're either a moron or you're choosing to ignore reality because you're locked into an ideology. Hold on. Stavros was more of a woman than Jordan. He does have bigger titties, so that is fair. What was I saying? God damn it. Jokes are always guaranteed to get me sidetracked. But yeah, the wage gap thing, the short version, if you make all the variables consistent, if you make, experience, age, demographic, when all those, when you allot for age and demographic and all this shit and work experience, it's not like the numbers are virtually the same. You know what I mean? They're virtually the same. And then it's like, they never have time to talk about, workplace violence. It's men have to work more dangerous jobs. They never account for it's like, yeah, you also know a lot of times ladies take, they take lower paying jobs because they're mothers. So if they want to work, they take simpler jobs so they can have more flexibility to like raise their kids if they're going to have a job at all. So yeah, it's like, and also too, the simple fact that like, the fact that women aren't the vast majority of the workforce It's like, oh, you're telling me you can just get away with paying this one group of people 25% less than another group of people, and you'll get the same work out of them? You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's like willful ignorance after a certain point. If you choose to not understand that argument, it's like willful ignorance. So yeah, and it just falls perfectly into the whole like, no, you're not supposed to think this way. We've all done how you're supposed to think. You're not supposed to think this way. And then I got to be honest too, the last thing that always, it's funny too, because like YouTube's been hitting me with, there's those YouTube channels that post like, God damn it, I opened up one website with fucking cookies and now, or with fucking ads, and now it's slowing the shit out of this thing. But yeah, it's like you go to one, what the fuck was I saying? Fuck. Yeah, it's like a willful ignorance thing. Oh, that's what I was saying too. YouTube's been hitting me. There's these YouTube channels that just where the guy animates like 10-minute Cumtown clips. I wasn't a big fan of Cumtown the whole podcast, but the clipped up, it's the best podcast ever. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Yeah, no, I'm big into like the 10-minute Cumtown clips. I listened to the podcast for a little bit, but I never got hardcore into it. I think they're better in short bursts. But no, it's like you listen to those old clips and it's like, I don't know. It's just, it's dude becomes Mr. Politics around the same time he starts to like really get a career. I mean, he's always been like that. Let me make that clear what I'm trying to say. Because I'm not saying he's just magically, oh, I have a career, I magically believe in like all this lefty bullshit. I think he's believed in it all the whole time. But it's like now, it's like, oh, you're trying now, now you're the hall monitor with the shit where it's like, oh, let me correct, because it's like, so it's all fast. Like, I guess for me, it's like fascinating that the Cumtown guy is like this, but I still fuck with him. I still think he's funny. I think he's interesting. I like hearing him talk. It's just whenever he gets on his like political shit, and I'm not saying he can't have those politics, but it's like me, dude. It's like me if I got overly condescending to someone on politics. Like, I'm not the fucking expert. I can give you my opinion. I'm not the fucking expert. Yeah, I thought Cumtown was pretty good. I think people got I'm not trying to just be like, yeah, it actually wasn't good. Well, and this is an argument I always want to make, but I feel like people will never hear me. But I'm always like, yeah, but dude, you're also a socialist. So like, I'm not going to take you that seriously. You're an adult and you truly believe in socialism. Like, I don't know. I know that's not like a way to argue because no one's going to hear, but I truly feel that way sometimes. I don't like say that. I won't say that in arguments because it's like no one's going to hear me and people are going to like, it's not going to help my side in that moment. But I do. It's like there is a thing at the end of the day. It's like, you believe in socialism though. So, I mean, why are you being so condescending to people? Andy in alternate universe would be a cross-dressing Red Scare pod gal. I do. I am weirdly attracted to those ladies. I do. You know what it is? Whenever it's a guy, it's the most obnoxious thing in the world. Whenever it's a lady, you're always like, oh, you're just a stupid bitch, aren't you? You're just a huge dumb bitch, and that's so attractive. All right, enough of this. Let's listen to. He dropped the 300 bits. Listen to Sin Against Sin. That's what you wanted, right?
Business. And I remember that in my conscience, it's so alive in me, even just recalling it. I remember that I had gone so far and there was no turning back. That even if I had wanted to run, even if I had wanted to leave, I couldn't. It was like I was caught in something that I had no control over. I had absolutely no say-so as to what was happening there. It was just like a tool in the hands of the devil.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I kind of fucked with that. A lot. That was really good. Sin Against Sin? That's the demo. Sin Against Sin. Yeah, that ripped. It had that I've joked before. I'm a little bit of a production princess. I don't glorify the low production of stuff, but I also don't shy away from it. Because there are some records that have like a more raw production on it, and it's still fun. Obviously, I want these dudes in the studio with like whoever the fuck produced Foreign Hands or Boundaries or some shit like that. Like I want to hear them with that type of production, but the rawness of that was really fun, and I like it hit all the standard points, but it also had some like good variety. I like the almost like high old school metalcore vocals. I don't know if that's like strictly metalcore, but it's whatever like again Foreign Hands is doing with that dude's vocals, where it's like they get pretty heavy. They'll dip their toe. They go back and forth from like legit hardcore band to like metalcore, like more emotional metalcore, melodic, whatever you want to call it, band. But these guys definitely go way more hardcore with it, which is very cool, but still giving that balance where it does have that more melodic, metallic feel to it. It's a strong variety, because I think in this genre there's a pretty well established format of how these songs go, and a lot of bands can lean into it, and it's very, very good. But 20 minutes into an album of 10 songs that all sound the same, it gets a little exhausting, and it becomes one of those bands. There's a lot of these bands that when I listen to their album, I go, that's fine. But if I saw them live, I'd go fucking nuts. I think a great example of that, I saw Big Boy. Big Boy, they're like a East Bay hardcore band. Are they East Bay? No, not AFI East Bay. No, they are East Bay. Yeah. They're like an East Bay hardcore band. Live, one of the coolest, most fun live shows I've ever seen. No joke. I mean that with my whole chest. When I listen to their albums, it's it's good. It's good. So a lot of these bands, you really have to see them live. Stand-up comedy is hilariously a very similar thing to that. Any stand-up special, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the chat know this. Any stand-up special was 10 times funnier in the room when they recorded it. It's just there's something about it. And you know what? I haven't thought about this, but it does correlate a lot to bands like this, where it's much bigger. It's a much more enjoyable thing in the live experience, because that's what comedy is. Comedy, a stand-up special will never be funnier than the actual thing. Like stand-up specials are very good, but like any because I've had firsthand experience with a couple of them. Like I remember I went to go see. Well, I had direct firsthand experience with a few. I remember I went to go see Lewis's special back in the day. I saw Soder's special back in the day. Yeah, I went the Soder's. I think I was at the taping for Soder's Comedy Central. I was at the taping for Lewis's special. Dave's. Yeah, I was at the taping for Dave's special. I'm trying to think, because I know I saw Kyle Kinane back in the day. I saw Mark Maron and I saw Doug Stanhope, and I saw them all do material I would then see right afterwards on the next album. But I didn't go see them shoot their specials. But yeah, I've seen a lot of comics where you like see them live and it's fucking unreal, and then you see the same jokes and it just doesn't hit the same. Now, I will say it's like, well, I heard the jokes already, so that is an element of it. But no, but it's like comedy. I've been through it a bunch of times where you see it live, it goes fucking nuts, and then you see the actual special, and you're like, this is good, but it just doesn't. It's always you know, and now, like I said before, if I hadn't have seen it live, it probably would hit way harder. But no, legitimately, comedy is 1,000% more enjoyable in the live experience. And going back to these hardcore bands, there's a lot of these hardcore bands that kind of seem like that, where they don't. It's hard to, because it's the live experience is so much more than the music. You know, it's being in the crowd, it's being in the pit, it's trying not to get knocked out, it's jumping on people, grabbing the mic from the singer, jumping off stage. It's the general atmosphere. It's like, dude, there's some shows I've been at where the dude's barely singing half the song. He's so like involved with the crowd and stuff like that. So it's like so much more than the actual recording. The recording's just letting you know, like, yo, there's gonna be some fun shit later. But I still like the way that they recorded. I went off a little bit of a tangent, but that's my thing. I still like the way that they recorded this, and then mixing it with the very high vocals like that is a really cool combo. Is a really cool combo. So I really enjoyed this. Sin Against Sin. Keep up the good fucking work. Also, having having your cover being a fucking samurai, I believe he's stabbing himself. Either way, that fucking rips. What are you guys talking about here? Their Hellfire set? Yeah. Hellfire. I saw a bunch of that. That came out of nowhere for me, and I watched a bunch of that, and it was very good. Started playing skate because of it. Wait, because of what? Remind me a bit of Zabalba. I've heard of Zabalba. Damn, I raced down to the Troc for sodas after work, but I was like 2 minutes late. Damn, we could have been in the same room, Darren. That's crazy. Seen a bunch of comics a week or two before the special taping. Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, so I got this Tucker thing.
If you want conspiracy theories.
I love conspiracy theories, Tucker. It's literally my favorite thing ever. All right. God damn it. All right, I have to piss really bad. I'll be right back, boys. All right, let's get to it. We've been watching these for the past month or so. We've been loving them. They've been really good, legitimately, actually. I like the way we were talking about them earlier in the stream, but I like the way Tucker does them, where he tackles very specific aspects of the 9/11 narrative, breaks them down, tears them apart in a very clear-cut way, and it's very good, and I really like it. So let's hop into this. Looks like this one they're talking about Building 7.
If you wanted conspiracy theories to flourish after the 9/11 attacks, here's what you'd do. You'd suppress video evidence of the attacks themselves. You'd ship the rubble from the attacks.
This is why I love fucking Tucker, dude. I love fucking Tucker. No, this is why it's Tucker time. Give it up for Tuck. It's Tucker time. No, he because there's so many layers to knowing shit about 9/11. And then there's so many layers to how you perceive 9/11. And it's like I love that he's mentioning shipping the metal, cuz no one knows that. No one knows that. God, I'm fucking stupid. Talk so retarded. No, a lot of people don't know about that. There's like there's a lot of stuff of like, there's all the you think buildings fall like that, or it was actually a missile that hit a Pentagon, and a lot of those go, sure. Has there ever been a building that fell the way and in the time frame that the World Trade Center did? No. But you could still go like, yeah, but was it a controlled demolition? And then even with the Pentagon, you're like, yeah, it's kind of crazy how it hit it. And was it a missile though? No. But then there's like other stuff that it's all the like, there's all this like little shit, not little shit, but there's this other shit that comes off little compared to like the typical conversations we have about 9/11, where you're like, yo, all the metal and shit that they had, it got like shipped away to like another country or something and like melted down immediately and all this crazy shit. And you're like, they didn't want to keep that to like inspect it at all. I hopefully he talks about it more in depth, because it's like the whole time frame on it is crazy. And then the Pentagon, it's like, there's only to this day, was it like 14 years afterwards? I'm sorry, 24 years afterwards. All we have is what, fucking 20 seconds of one angle of the Pentagon. It's kind of crazy.
Overseas immediately without looking at it. You'd call everyone.
Yeah. This is the best way to put it. Oh, largest crime scene in national history. Let's sell all the evidence to China real quick. Yes, that's the best way to put it. And yes, by the way, you know how a plane hit the Pentagon? This is the only footage we've ever seen of that. I mean, I guess there was that footage from across the street, but you're like, do you guys have like one camera at the Pentagon? What the fuck's going on over there?
You disputed the official narrative crazy or a criminal. You'd engage in a campaign of very obvious lies about the attacks. You'd do everything you could to prevent an actual investigation into what happened. You'd avoid any public trials. And when you captured and killed the perpetrator, you'd show no photos or video evidence of the raid that killed him. And then
oh yeah, and when you killed the guy who did it, you'd throw him in the ocean to respect his religion or something. It was something like that. I know they said something where it's like we don't want to take his grave site into. It's like, well, keep the fucking body and bury him under the goddamn prison. What the fuck are you talking about?
Then you'd dump his body into the middle of the ocean. Then you'd use the attack to justify the invasion of a completely unrelated country on behalf of a foreign power. In other words, you do exactly.
Yeah, you'd invade a country that dude was in for like a couple months and then just stay there for 20 years.
What the U.S. government did in the wake of 9/11. It's possible that there are people who wanted conspiracy theories to thrive. The more far out, the better. The more time people spend wondering about directed energy weapons, the less time they focus on the obvious, the facts hiding in plain sight. And the main
that Condoleezza Rice was mid. And not enough people talk about it.
Fact that they are ignoring is our government's central role in facilitating those attacks. We established this in episode 1 of this series, and the extreme levels of incompetence that made it possible for bin Laden from Kandahar, Afghanistan, to pull off the most sophisticated terror attacks in history. On the other hand, not all the wildest theories about 9/11 are crazy. Some of them raise legitimate questions about what happened. And in this episode, we'll go through those theories one by one and explain using primary source documents, interviews with CIA officials, contemporary news reports, exactly what we know about those theories. The North Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed at 10:28 a.m. on the morning of 9/11. And when it did, burning debris fell and damaged several of the buildings around it, including a building called World Trade Center, building number 7. It was a 47-story steel frame.
Oh, by the way, too, I always love bringing this up. I got to go back and listen to it. Damn, Dunbar. Mid is a wild insult from Big Red. What the hell? I'm a very handsome man. Look at me. God damn it. I can't even have first billing on my goddamn stream. Dunbar, I'm very handsome, you son of a bitch. How dare you? How dare you? I do love oh, that's a good point. I do, because they are beautiful angels. A lot of ladies are beautiful. You know what? Dunbar, I apologize. That, my response to you, that was pretty fucking mid. I'm so sorry. No, but Robbie, I was actually on the show. I was on the show with him when he was recording this episode, but Robbie Bernstein did an interview with Scott Horton. And Scott Horton claims that Building 7 falling like that is actually not weird if you look into it. And I don't remember exactly his argument. It was something about there were legit fires burning all day. I have a hard time believing that, but Scott Horton, so I respect his opinion, and it's always worth checking out. So go listen. They did a porch tour. He did a porch tour with Scott in Austin a while ago at this point. Maybe I'll try to look it up and give you guys the link. But yeah, I got to go back and listen to it because I was a little drunk at the time when we were sitting there listening to him. And Scott's also, he knows 1,000 more things than anyone else does. So it's hard to follow him at sometimes, but very interesting. Very interesting that guy is going to go against the Building 7 thing.
High rise located about a football field.
Scott got into a yelling match with someone over 9/11. Yes, well, Scott does not get on board with a lot of 9/11 conspiracies, and in like a passionate way. So I can see that happening.
Length away on the other side of Vesey Street. Interestingly, there was a building between the North Tower and Building 7.
Scott defended lockdowns and masks. I'd be very curious to. That doesn't sound like him. I'd be very curious to hear the context of what that is, because that doesn't. Surprising to hear that. I don't know of how. I got to hear the context. That sounds insane.
That building did not collapse.
I'm not shitting on you, Derek. I'm just very curious in what way. Because, there's a lot of people that said, before we knew what was going on, I was one of those guys, before we knew exactly what was going on, some of the measures did seem reasonable. And even, with the mask stuff, honestly, the Asian custom of, if you're actually sick, rocking a mask is a bit of a courtesy, but I'd be curious what Scott said specifically. That's what I meant, because it sounds condescending to you, Derek, to go what Scott actually said, because I'm starting off assuming you're wrong. I meant to say what Scott said specifically. Have you talking about Robbie lashed out at you, Slav? What, were you in his chat talking?
The collapse of Building 7 is completely unaddressed in the 9/11 Commission report. 577 pages, but no explanation as to why Building 7 fell. And that provoked very obvious questions. People have been talking about it for the last 24 years.
And if you watch some of these pieces, you can actually see them turning to dust before they hit the ground.
A steel building doesn't fall into its own footprint because a plane hit another building a couple hundred yards away.
I did not see a plane. They said the plane hit the first building. The second building just...
Yeah, it is kind of a 9/11's an interesting thing because it really tests what you're believing the government did. Because it's very popular. It's a very popular and agreed upon opinion where it's Building 7's fucking weird. Did it fall like that? But I even bet, I bet you even Jimmy Dore, if you're well, do you think the whole thing was a controlled demolition? Like, and I even have trouble squaring those together because it just comes off as fucking insane. Because you look at Building 7, you're like, that's crazy. How does that fall like that? And then it's like, do you want to just sit there and say the whole thing was a controlled demolition? And you're like, well, if 7 was, why wouldn't the whole thing be? But then, like, why would it be just 7 and not the whole? You know what I mean? Like, logically, controlled demolition seems reasonable when you look at it that way.
The circumstances around Building 7's collapse and the near total absence of an explanation for why.
I'm sorry, Derek. I didn't see the rest of this comment. His wife has a disease, scared him. Okay, so I could see if it was early on when we didn't have all the info, I could see that.
Collapsed, provoked in the end a Senate investigation.
Start with Building 7. Again, I don't know that you can find structural engineers that would say that that thing didn't come down in any other way than a controlled demolition.
Building 7 had a pretty amazing list of tenants. They included, ironically, the New York City Office of Emergency Management. That would be the agency responsible for responding to the 9/11 attacks. On the 9th and 10th floors of Building 7 were the New York Field Office of the United States Secret Service. The equipment and records they kept there were destroyed that day when the building collapsed. The building...
Wait, let me back this up because I was reading some of your comments, but I'm genuinely curious about this.
7 had a pretty amazing list of tenants. They included, ironically, the New York City Office of Emergency Management. That would be the agency responsible for responding to the 9/11 attacks. On the 9th and 10th floors of Building 7 were the New York Field Office of the United States Secret Service. The equipment and records they kept there were destroyed that day when the building collapsed. The building's 25th floor was home to a secret CIA office. Its records were also destroyed. Across the 25th floor was the Department of Defense office. It's unclear exactly what it was doing there. Building 7 was one of just 3 buildings that collapsed that day. The collapse of the other 2, the Twin Towers, got extensive coverage in the 9/11 report, of course.
Well, they always bring that up with like all the records were destroyed that day. I mean, I guess you can't just delete records for no reason. I don't know. That always just never seems like enough for me, where I'm like, is that like, obviously I don't think 9/11, like if 9/11 was staged, it's like, did they do it just to destroy those records? No, it was probably like, we can also fucking take out Building 7, by the way. But I'm like, I mean, like, do you have to, is that like the only way to take care of records of stuff? It's like, can't you just classify the absolute shit out of them? It just seems like a lot to, it seems like a lot to get rid of their records.
But Building 7 was almost entirely ignored. It's worth remembering that even on the morning of the 9/11 attacks, there were very prominent people already doubting whether a plane could take down a steel frame building.
I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through this steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. It just seemed to me that to do that kind of destruction is even more than a big plane, because you're talking about taking out steel, the heaviest caliber steel that was used on a building. I mean, these buildings were rock solid.
One reason the 9/11 Commission may have effectively ignored the collapse of Tower 7 is because even now we don't really know much about it. On the morning of September 11th, Lower Manhattan was cut off from the public with military-style checkpoints. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed that afternoon at 5:20 p.m. Video that has been widely circulated appears to show it falling symmetrically into its own footprint. Several buildings closer to the Twin Towers, meanwhile, remain standing. That's odd. And then the debris was removed immediately and shipped to Asia. That's even stranger.
Where is all the rubble gone? And have you been able to, is there any way you can answer that question?
I'm sorry, Peter, I didn't get the question.
Okay, I apologize. Jackie Judd and several other people keep asking us, when you look at where the towers used to stand, there is surprisingly so little rubble. Where did all the rubble go?
It's a very good question, Peter, and I have asked some people who've been doing some of the rescue,
and recovery work this morning. If you look behind me, you can see the very remains.
Well, I will say this, and I like to do this in these situations to, just what's it called, steelman it, or steelman the argument, or give them benefit of the doubt. It is New York City. It is a very tight space, and a skyscraper's worth of steel is a fucking lot. So, they do need to get it out of there. Now, I think what they're going on about is, where the fuck did they take it? Because, that should not be leaving the state. I mean, I could see, because that's a lot of steel. I could see that, maybe you take it somewhere upstate where there's a lot of room, but, that should not be leaving the state, let alone the country.
Remains of the World Trade Center, and one volunteer.
Yes, we need to jet fuel can't melt steel beam man the argument.
Robert Gerlinsky explained to me the reason there's so little rubble is that all of it simply fell down into the ground and was pulverized, evaporated. Now, I should say, though, for the...
Wait, is that real? No, that can't be the argument. Is that what's his fucking dick who's on the news now?
Surprisingly, so little rubble. Where did all the rubble go?
It's a very good question, Peter, and I have asked some people who've been doing some of the rescue and recovery work this morning. If you look behind me, you can see the very remains, the skeletal remains of the World Trade Center. And one volunteer, Robert Gerlinsky, explained to me the reason there's so little rubble is that all of it simply fell down into the ground and was pulverized, evaporated. Now, I should say, though, for the last several hours, there's been a steady stream of dump trucks and other very large vehicles carrying out debris.
According to a New York Times article published 5 months after the attacks, quote, an unknown number of steel columns has been sent off to mills as far away as Asia without ever having been examined or saved. This made it nearly impossible for engineers to answer the monumental questions of exactly why and how the buildings, designed to sustain a jet impact, completely collapsed. To the extent that any analysis of the debris was done at all, it was done by volunteers at a scrapyard in Jersey City, New Jersey. According to the New York Times, the deepest mystery uncovered in the investigation
all right, they can go to New Jersey. That's right over there, but it should not have gone to Asia.
Involves extremely thin bits of steel collected from the trade towers and from 7 World Trade Center, a 47-story high-rise that also collapsed for unknown reasons. The steel apparently melted away, but no fire in any of the buildings was believed to be hot enough to melt steel outright. 2 agencies investigated the collapse. One was FEMA, which relied on volunteers, and the other was NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, funded by Congress. FEMA's explanation is that falling debris from the North Tower damaged the outer facade of Building 7 and started a series of fires in the lower floors. According to NIST, the collapse of the towers in the morning had damaged water mains, so the building's sprinkler systems failed. Since the building had been evacuated earlier in the morning and the fire department's resources were stretched to a breaking point by ongoing search and rescue missions, fire chiefs made the decision early on not to fight the fires that were burning in Building 7. According to the NIST report, thermal expansion of steel beams, not the complete melting of steel, caused the connections tying a crucial girder, girder 2001A, to column 79, and that joint failed. The girder walked 6 1/4 inches off its seat, and that precipitated what is known as a progressive collapse. That means that the collapse started in one area and then spread downward due to gravity through the rest of the building. That's the explanation. There are 2 questions that come to mind, and both are obvious. First, if there was just one failure point, then why does video evidence show the building coming down symmetrically, all at once, at freefall acceleration, in what more closely resembles what's called a global collapse, where all the supporting columns are severed simultaneously? The second question is, how have other steel frame buildings around the world, similar in design to that in Tower 7, fared during fires?
See, that's the thing. I watched something on this a while ago, is because the funny part about 9/11 is you're always looking at it like, or at least for me, you go into the whole 9/11 thing being like, dude, there's no fucking way it's a controlled demolition. That's how you feel from the jump. And then you research it and you're like, seriously, it can't be a controlled demolition. No. It's like, I've done a lot of, I guess you could call it research, whatever you want. And I'm telling you, at no point, like, I don't know if it's a controlled demolition. I've never found info that pushed me farther away from that theory. I've only been drawn closer. So that, that's why I'm the best conspiracy theorist, because I don't want any of this stuff to be real. So, like, I go into it all very begrudgingly. And then it's just, I go like, God damn it. I can't figure out my way out of this. But yeah, like, so I was watching a bunch of stuff, and the one thing that really hurts it is, like, there's been a lot of buildings in very similar situations that they claimed. None of them fall like that.
1991, for example.
Like, you can watch a shitload of video of footage of buildings on fire, and you can watch a shitload of video of controlled demolition. And then you can tell me which one Building 7 looks like.
38-story One Meridian Plaza in Philadelphia had an 8-floor fire that burned for 18 hours, and yet the building didn't collapse. In 1988, the 62-story First Interstate Bank building in Los Angeles had a massive fire that started on the 12th floor. There was no structural failure. In 2017, the 24-story Grenfell Tower in London burned for over 24 hours, and yet the internal steel withstood the fire. So why then did Building 7 collapse after just 7 hours of burning, in a way that no steel frame building anywhere in the world has ever collapsed? With the support of a group called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, Professor Leroy Hulsey of the University of Alaska at Fairbanks conducted an independent study whose findings were released in 2020. Professor Hulsey found that office fires of the kind in Building 7 on 9/11 could not have produced sufficient thermal expansion to cause the crucial girder to fail. It's impossible, he found. And more significantly, he and his team found that NIST's explanation...
Also, my favorite thing, too, is there's that, like, famous video of the dude who's, like, they'll be like, because everyone goes jet fuel can't melt steel beams. And then he's like a welder or something. And so he has a steel beam and he like heats it up and he's like, yeah, but it bends. And you're like, yeah, well, if something's bending, does it free fall? Or would it tip over? That's my question. So it's like, even again, it's like, please prove this wrong. Like, please prove controlled demolition wrong.
Does not account for what anyone can see on video, which is that the entire building came down all at once, not in a progressive collapse, but in a total collapse. Something else, therefore, must have triggered the downfall. There's only one thing that could have triggered a collapse.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He has a steel rod. The steel is those buildings are 6 inches thick. Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that.
Like the one we saw on television, and that is a controlled demolition. That was his conclusion. Our ability to analyze the collapse is limited by the video that we have. We don't have footage of the south side of the building where the fires were, because the cameras there were likely destroyed or obstructed by the collapse of the Twin Towers. One issue with the controlled demolition hypothesis is that the widely circulated video of the building coming down is selectively edited. In fact, the building did not exactly collapse all at once. It came down in 2 stages. What you're seeing now is the full video of coming with the television, and that is for what anyone can see on video, which is that the entire building came down all at once, not in a progressive collapse, but in a total collapse. Something else, therefore, must have triggered the downfall. There's only one thing that could have triggered a collapse like the one we saw on television, and that is a controlled demolition. That was his conclusion. Our ability to analyze the collapse is limited by the video that we have. We don't have footage of the south side of the building where the fires were, because the cameras there were likely destroyed or obstructed by the collapse of the Twin Towers. One issue with the controlled demolition hypothesis is that the widely circulated video of the building coming down is selectively edited. In fact, the building did not exactly collapse all at once. It came down in 2 stages. What you're seeing now is the full video of the collapse. It shows the penthouse collapsing first, and then very quickly, the rest of the building going. The unedited video leaves more questions than it answers. It calls into question the official NIST narrative, but it doesn't conclusively show a controlled demolition either. Because of how quickly authorities shipped the rubble overseas, we did not get a thorough investigation into the destruction. But one group of scientists did collect and test 4 samples of dust and debris collected by a Manhattan resident about 10 minutes after the collapse of the Second World Trade Center tower, 2 the next day, and a 4th about a week later. In 2009, they published the results of their study in the Open Chemical Physics Journal. In those samples, the scientists found...
Yeah, if you're like a guy like that, do that shit. I don't know a better way to say that, but like if you're a guy, this is why everyone needs to be skeptical of the government at all times, and just generally like be like, we're good. You guys don't need to be here anymore. But yeah, if you're just a guy who's like, they're not gonna collect this dust properly. Like if you know that, if you're a guy who just knows, like you guys should, I would never think to be like, you should collect the dust after a building falls down. That's not my department. I don't know any of that shit. But if you're a guy who knows that, just collect that dust, all of it, like any of that kind of shit. If you know like that like a thing like that should be done, just do it. Do it to the best of your ability. Collect that dust.
Distinctive red-gray chips full of highly energetic and thermitic material. In other words, they found traces of explosive compounds. To its credit, NIST's report did investigate multiple hypothetical blast scenarios, but found it would be impossible to carry out on any floor in the building without detection, and would have required removing or cutting columns with welding torches and placing wires for demolition. NIST found that window breakage patterns on visible floors was not at all like expected from a blast. NIST did not test residue from the attacks for thermite, but did note that thermite burns slowly relative to explosive materials and would require several minutes in contact with a massive steel section to heat it to a temperature that would result in substantial weakening. Additionally, they estimated that at least 0.13 pounds of thermite would be required to heat each pound of steel section to approximately 700 degrees Celsius, the temperature at which steel weakens substantially. Which means that if Building 7 were demolished using thermite, many thousands of pounds of thermite would need to have been placed inconspicuously ahead of time, remotely ignited and somehow held in direct contact with the surface of hundreds of massive structural...
Yes, answer this question, Tucker, because I have not looked into that element of it. How the hell are they getting all that thermite in there?
...components to weaken the building, making it an unlikely substance for achieving a controlled demolition. NIST also says that an explosion big enough to take down the building would have been considerably louder than any noises recorded around the time the building collapsed. Yet, eyewitness accounts say they did hear explosions inside the building.
All this time, I'm hearing all types of explosions. All this time, I'm hearing explosions.
We attempted to interview that witness. His name was Barry Jennings, but he died at the untimely age of 53 just 2 days before NIST released its report on Tower 7. The film director Spike Lee attempted to cover this story in an HBO docuseries entitled NYC Epicenter's 9/11 to 2021 and a half. In an interview with the New York
Spike Lee was on the case?
Times, Lee said the amount of heat that it takes to make steel melt, that temperature is not reached. And then the juxtaposition of the way the Building 7 fell to the ground, when you put it next to other building collapses that were demolitions, it's like you're looking at the same thing. For saying this, Lee was excoriated by the press, which usually lionizes him. He suggested that the official 9/11 narrative might be wrong, and for doing so, he was called an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist.
That rules. I'm sure there's a little bit more to it, but still, that's so funny. I don't think buildings fall like that. That's crazy. You hate Jews.
By the Times of Israel. In the end, Lee re-edited his docuseries and removed portions that were skeptical of the official story of the collapse of Building 7. Where do you keep your most valuable...
God damn it, dude. Lower your voice. That's so funny. Well, I don't get why people still like play the game after that. We're saying the game again. It's like, yo, I genuinely think these buildings might have been blown up, and it's like, better watch yourself, or you'll get your funding pulled, or we're not. And you're like, oh, I'll just take this out of the documentary. It's like, just fucking, it's crazy, dude.
Interior that you customize. You're going to dig it. We definitely, plus they're good looking, I will say. Another unusual aspect of Building 7's collapse is that some media outlets reported it happened before it actually happened. Here's footage of the BBC reporting that Tower 7 was down. Keep in mind, this was filmed live 20 minutes before Building 7 actually collapsed.
Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Salomon Brothers was Building 7's major tenant, and you can see the tower in the background of the shot. Was that just rushed reporting on the day of the attacks? Or did the BBC have advance word that the
This
building...
stuff, I'm curious, the angle is, this stuff is interesting. But, like, you also got to think about information dissemination. But why would they get reports on Building 7 specifically? That's why I'm like, so much of this stuff's so weird and fascinating.
Building was coming down. If the media did have foreknowledge of the events that day, they weren't alone. Buried deep in the 9/11 Commission report on page 499, one easily missed footnote says there was a surge in put options, investments that profit when stock prices fall. These put options were put against United Airlines' parent company, and they were placed on September 6th, and then against American Airlines on September 10th.
It's so funny too, by the way. That's why it's like the stock market is such. It's clearly like betting. It's the same as betting, dude. It's the same as like just throwing like whenever people explain that kind of shit because they give it a fancy little name like a put option, you're like, so you're betting on a business doing bad. It's like, what? Why is that a thing in there?
Deep in the 9/11 Commission report on page 499, one easily missed footnote says there was a surge in put options, investments that profit when stock prices fall. These put options were put against United Airlines' parent company, and they were placed on September 6th, and then against American Airlines on September 10th. Incredibly, the report goes on to note that 95% of the trade against United Airlines was made by a single US-based institutional investor. So who was that investor? Well, we don't know. The US government is still hiding his name. They refuse to tell us. Why? No one will say. The commission report says...
There's always so much little shit like that where you're like, why wouldn't you tell us that? I don't even, like, again, it's like, I'm not trying to believe in all this conspiracy shit, but like, why would you tell us that? I thought the government was supposed to like help and protect us. Really seems like that would be interesting info to know about.
An investigation by the FBI found out the trades were, quote, innocuous, whatever that means. Researchers have since discovered that these trades are far from innocuous, with trading volumes showing statistical significance, massive statistical significance. There were other trades too. On September 7th, the number of put options placed against British Airways was 4 times the normal volume. The number of put options against American Airlines on the day before the attack was 285 times the normal volume. In the days before the attacks, put options surged against Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch. Both banks had sizable offices in the World Trade Center. There were also notable surges in gold and oil call options in advance of the attacks. But who could have known the attacks were coming, apart from Al-Qaeda? One highly significant yet often overlooked aspect of the 9/11 attacks is that foreign intel agencies, including those of ostensible allies, likely had...
He said that weird. He said foreign intel agencies. Intel agencies, Tucker. Sound it out. God.
...detailed prior knowledge of the event.
These 9/11 hijackers had come from Germany. Were the Germans asleep at the switch? Or did they just not tell us anything about these people?
John Kiriakou was chief of counterintelligence.
It's funny to not show that guy the whole time. Or was he in a previous one? I can't remember.
On the bin Laden unit.
What about the Israelis? What about the Saudis?
What about them? What about you guys? You guys, why do you guys always pop up? The hell are you doing over there, Israel? What are you doing? Why are you guys always popping up? What's that about?
There is solid evidence that members of the Saudi royal family were working with al-Qaeda terrorists.
The 9/11 Commission, not surprisingly, ignored this subject altogether. Here's what we know. As early as January of 2001, France's foreign
France? They knew about this shit, those fucks?
intelligence service learned that al-Qaeda was planning a hijacking plot involving a U.S. airline. What did the French tell the United States and when? We don't know. But the French are not alone. Others knew.
Well, there's no doubt that the Israelis and probably the British had better information than the people working against Osama bin Laden in the agency. Much better information.
Michael Scheuer ran the CIA's bin Laden unit in the late 1990s. One reason foreign governments may have had superior information is that the NSA frequently shared signals intelligence details with them, details it withheld from our own CIA. Signals intelligence is a type of espionage that deals with intercepting phone calls and radio communications.
We needed the collection of signals intelligence out of Afghanistan. And since there was no central telephone company or communications companies, it was very limited. You had to be lucky to find the signal. Well, we found a couple of signals, and we shared the information with NSA, and they collected information and wouldn't share it with us in the raw form. NSA reports are generally summaries of what people say over the phone. You don't really know always who's talking to who. The first thing we did when we got the first copies of translated material, we sent them to NSA and said, can you please provide the other half of this to us? And they said, thank you very much, but under the 1947 Act that created NSA, we don't have to share that with anyone, and we're not going to. But somehow...
Why wouldn't they want to? Feels like they would want to. Why wouldn't they want to?
The Israelis and the Saudis always were able to find out something was there that they wanted. And so when we refused, they'd call the White House would call the DCI, and the DCI would say, give it to them.
We know very little about NSA's foreknowledge of 9/11 because the 9/11 Commission barely investigated it. Keep in mind, the NSA is the largest American intel agency by far. And yet the Commission never assigned a staff member to research NSA files, in part because some of the 9/11 commissioners and staff simply did not understand what the NSA was and what it did. Even now, the NSA's terrorism archives still have never been thoroughly reviewed by outside investigators. If someone ever did go through those files, they'd likely find a treasure trove of previously undisclosed warnings about the 9/11 attacks. The NSA was the primary agency responsible for monitoring the switchboard through which al-Qaeda operatives communicated with each other.
It's certainly an absurdity for what the American people pay for signals intelligence to be collected, translated, and supplied to the intelligence community, to have the British, the Saudis getting information from our national security agency that we in the agency were not privileged enough to get.
A number of foreign governments may have had foreknowledge of 9/11.
Is it the dancing ones? Oh, we dancing, Tucker? We dancing?
But the Israeli government stands out in particular. And
they do? Why is it always Israel? What's going on?
And here's why. On the morning of 9/11, a group...
Oh, we dancing. Oh, shit. Is this the students? Tucker getting us dancing.
But 5 Israeli nationals reported to have witnessed the initial explosion of the World Trade Center and were seen to be celebrating the event. At the time, the celebrations received quite a bit of mainstream media coverage.
Fox News has learned some U.S. investigators believe that there are Israelis again very much engaged in spying in and on the U.S., who may have known things they didn't tell us before September 11th.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that on one stream. Yeah, but it's a boy who cried wolf. They've been talking smack forever. I don't know, dude. I watched a thing on we talked about it on stream the one time. The Dancing Israelis. It was a group So like, here's the thing. From what I remember, and I'm sure he's going to go through it more thorough and better than I will, but from what I remember, it was a thing of like, they were like, I mean, we weren't dancing. I mean, are we Israeli spies? Yeah. Or it was something through the process. They did find out Israel was spying on us at the time, and it like led back to this like shell corp, like this like just fake business that everyone who worked there, like the guy who ran the business, just randomly flew back to Israel like right after 9/11. It was all this like really, really weird shit where even if they weren't dancing, which it feels like they were dancing, it feels like they would dance in Slav. But even if they weren't dancing, you're like, you guys got some splaining to do. You guys got some splaining to do.
It's striking to see operatives from a supposed
the dancing Israelis actually beat the Jabberwockies on that whatever that show was called. It was a beautiful night.
supposedly allied country celebrating the mass murder of Americans. But it is true that some in Israel saw the attack as a good thing for them. A September 12, 2001 article in the New York Times quotes now Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responding to the 9/11 attacks. Quote, "It is very good," before adding, well, not very good, but it will generate immediate sympathy. Netanyahu predicted that the attack would strengthen the bond between our two peoples, because we've experienced terror over so many decades, but the United States has now experienced a massive hemorrhaging of terror. According to FBI documents, the Israelis caught celebrating the 9/11 attacks had videotaped the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center and may have possessed foreknowledge of the same. When the Israelis were arrested in New Jersey, they were carrying box cutters, multiple passports, thousands of dollars in cash, and photos of themselves smiling with the World Trade Center burning in the background.
The Israelis are always for the Israelis.
Over so many decades, experienced a massive hemorrhaging of terror. According to FBI documents, the Israelis caught celebrating the 9/11 attacks had videotaped the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center and may have possessed four.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. They were like, even if they weren't dancing, they were still like doing some shit. They were still doing some weird ass shit.
Knowledge of the same. When the Israelis were arrested in New Jersey, they were carrying box cutters, multiple passports, thousands of dollars in cash, and photos of themselves smiling with the World Trade Center burning in the background.
The Israelis are always for the Israelis first, last, always. They don't like the United States, except for the most part, our money. And yet, our National Security Agency is producing information for them, but not shareable with its own people. Go figure.
According to FBI records, polygraph tests administered by the FBI suggested that they did not have foreknowledge of the attacks, but did engage in deception and were likely involved in illegal foreign counterintelligence. They were spying in the United States. The leader of the group, a man called Dominic Suter, fled to Israel on or around September 14th, 2001, immediately, and he was later included on an FBI anti-terror watch list distributed to European allies in May of 2002. Most of the Israelis were held in FBI detention for 2.5 months before they were deported for visa violations, a common way to expel foreign intel assets from allied countries.
The Israelis pride themselves on having infiltrated every Arab intelligence service, every terrorist group. Did the Israelis know about 9/11 and not tell us?
One memorandum submitted to the 9/11 Commission presented substantial evidence suggesting that numerous art students from Israel, who were in fact Israeli intel assets, had been strategically located across the United States. It's hard not to notice that they lived near the future 9/11 hijackers.
There were groups of Israelis traveling around the country as artists, sketching things. Happened to be one time around Cape Canaveral, I remember, and other places where there were certainly things to paint and sketch, but also noticeably near military installations or some other kind of installation in the government. So I think that's an open question yet.
The so-called Israeli art students centered their operations in Hollywood, Florida, and northern New Jersey. Those are the exact locations of the hijackers before the attack. According to the memorandum, quote, "It is very difficult to believe, based on the existing evidence and the location of their common central operating bases, that this group was not tracking the future hijackers and their collaborators as well." According to The Forward, a Jewish publication, Quote, the Israeli government acknowledged the operation and apologized for not coordinating it with Washington. Within a week of the attack, Israeli intelligence officials claimed they warned the United States.
Excuse me? You let that one slip? The hell? You guys stink.
About large-scale terror attacks on highly visible targets in the United States. But the specifics of those warnings have never been made public. There's no evidence they happened.
In fact, in the whole time I worked in counterterrorism from 92 till 2004, I never saw one piece of information from the Israelis that was really worth anything.
As Americans, we need Washington to create a new, truly independent commission, one that does not lie, and that instead investigates what happened on 9/11 and answers the questions we've posed in this episode. Who made the decision to ship the debris from the attacks out of this country immediately, and why? What was the role of the CIA office in Building 7? What signals intelligence did the NSA have in relation to the plot? And how much of it did they share with foreign governments? What did those foreign governments know and fail to tell the United States? The American public deserves answers immediately to those questions. These are all questions the 9/11 Commission itself ignored. Why did the FBI's most wanted poster for Osama bin Laden, updated in November of 2001, omit any mention of the 9/11 attacks? Why did it take the government 5 years to release footage of the Pentagon? And why were there only 2 publicly available videos of the Pentagon crash? The Pentagon was one of the most heavily secured and surveilled buildings on planet Earth. And yet, even now, more than 20 years later, there are only 2 videos. Why did U.S. forces abruptly bury Osama bin Laden at sea and never release any photograph of his body? How hard, by the way, would it be for amateur pilots with only basic aviation training and no experience flying jumbo jets to navigate to lower Manhattan and crash into a building? The majority of hijackers were flagged for additional screening at the airport. How did they get on those watch lists? And why didn't security slow them down? Why wasn't there substantial wreckage of Flight 93 at its supposed crash site in Shankville, Pennsylvania? We were told the crash of that aircraft was so powerful that it vaporized the aircraft's hull, and yet the hijackers' passports were found intact at the site.
This kind of like reminds me of some shit I was saying earlier, where it's like it feels like there's a concerted effort to make people who are asking reasonable questions and like logical questions to feel crazy. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why I always like my in the current parameters of our unfortunate reality we have to live in. It's like if someone's like being like, you know, calling you or someone else stupid who goes like, this shit is weird. You're like, what does stupid mean to you? Because your explanation was the ship vaporized, and that sounds insane. That's a lot of deleted messages. Yeah, Stav is a retarded child, so I really don't want to ban him. I like truly hurts me to think to like actually ban someone here, but if he's gonna fucking comment the thing he comments, I don't know what else to do. I think I got to set up some sort of parameters in my own head of like what he can do to not. It's because it's crazy at this point, the things he types in my chat. It's like he's truly exhausting me of all my patience, and I gotta start being like, brother, it's either it's getting to a point where it's like you either gotta stop or I'm gonna kick you out. Fucking, you know, though, what was it called? Physical removal. Get him in the fucking helicopter or whatever. I don't know. I'm just making jokes. I know people get fucking gay over that.
How does that work? And who is being protected by the Commission's unwillingness to answer these questions? Someone was. None of these questions were even asked by the 9/11 Commission. It's time that someone asks them and that the government answers them. On September 11, 2001, nearly 3,000 people were murdered. In the years that followed, hundreds of thousands more perished as a result of our response to those attacks. The government enacted measures that suspended constitutional protections, the freedoms this country was created to protect. They're gone now. The government employed illegal warfare tactics, including torture and the murder of innocent individuals. Those attacks fundamentally altered the way America operates, the way all of us live here. And yet not everyone suffered in the aftermath of 9/11. Some emerged the winners. We'll reveal who profited from 9/11 in the next installment of our series.
God, I gotta be honest. Yeah, I wasn't even paying attention to the chat. Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna, because I'm gonna repost this on YouTube and shit. I'm not gonna say it, but I mean, it's already on YouTube. What am I saying? Yeah, I'm not gonna. It's crazy. And then on top of that, like, it's kind of funny too. Getting to the end of this, and earlier he was like, "There's not much in these 9." I was like, dude, are you just dumb? All due respect, brother. Are you just dumb? These Tucker docs have been fucking amazing. They've been absolutely fucking amazing. Just for the sheer, like, because like I don't know what it is. Like, I've joked before, like, I don't know, I'm not good at like learning shit through traditional means. You know what I mean? It's like the way, sometimes it's like the way I'll read certain books and the way that they talk. Maybe it's just because it's fucking like some writers, or I'm not good at like plowing through boring shit. I will when I need to, when it's important to like a podcast or a thing I'm trying to understand, but I'm not good at plowing through boring shit. And if it's not well written, and it's like so much of this stuff, I feel like they all the information's out there. It's just hidden in piles of just boring fucking bullshit. So they know no one's going to get through it. But when it's presented like this, it's so understandable and easily digestible. More proof to me that like it's like they're actively keeping us fucking dumb and uninformed, because it's so easy. Like, over the course of, we're on episode 4. So over the course of like 2 hours worth of documentary, it's been like this is more educational than most shit on 9/11's ever. Not most shit on 9/11, but like, and he also has the benefit of everyone doing pre-established research, but it's like the way that he breaks it down in here is just so much clearer and easily digestible. It's like the idea that there's not more shit exactly like this is insane. So my props to Tucker. I know I know what was said without what was said. That's so funny. But my props to Tucker. I know a lot of people are scared of him because they think he's a fucking CIA asset or whatever. But I mean, right now he's proven his value to the community. So I don't know. He's good in my book for now. Yeah, that was fucking great. All right, guys. So dude, I love a good, I'm only planning on doing 2 hours. I didn't say that out loud, but in my head, I was like, I'm going to probably do like 2. And then to accidentally crush a 4-hour stream is pretty sick. Most people actively want to live in a world of lies. Yeah, because the tower of lies you construct is more comfortable than the real truth of the world. So people like that. Guys, this was very fun. If you're on the Panties channel, do me a huge favor. And I didn't bombard you with, I wasn't begging for money or anything like that all stream. Please do me a huge favor if you're on the Panties channel. Go over to, and I'll comment the links down below. I have my own channel where I post stuff and I post music commentary and all this shit. And then I also stream over there. If you guys haven't already, please go over to the YouTube. Consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm at 453. I'm trying to get to 500 so I can monetize it. It would really mean a lot. It would really mean a lot. So I thank you guys wholeheartedly. And here's the other link. If Twitch is much more your speed, please consider following over there. If you have an Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to my Twitch for free. I haven't been pestering you all stream. We just been keeping it business. So if you guys are in a good, helpful mood and you want to help out Grande Rojo or Rojo Grande, however it goes, Rojo Grande. If you want to help me out, please consider going to one of those two, hitting the subscribe, hitting the follow. Like the video, share it, do all that stuff. Listen to the fucking podcast. I will say the podcast this week's an absolute fucking banger. We were locked in this week. It was so fucking good. So the pod on Thursday is gonna rip. So look out for that. Oh, also, Drag the Lake and No More Heroes, guys. Just a heads up, we're talking about this week, the episode that came out this week. We talked about the new Thrice and the new Starting Line album. And then over on No More Heroes, we're talking about Inglourious Bastards. So all that fun stuff. Love you, gang. Never stop, Big Red. I will not. As long as I got all you guys' support, which means a whole hell of a lot, I will never stop this shit because I love this shit so much. But Big Red got to pay his bills. So if you're feeling nasty, help a Big Red out. All right, I will see you guys. If not tomorrow, I will be back Thursday. Have a great day. Go drink a beer. Go fuck your wife. Go call your mother. Maybe not in that order. Maybe call your mom first. Oh, well, you might be on the phone, horny. Who knows? Figure out what works.